Hola, hola. Hola, hola. Hola, hola, hola. Muy bien. Okay. Hello, everybody. We are going to start. So, officially, welcome to the Bilateral Energy Summit. Let's see a video, very short. We officially start. Thank you to our speakers, sponsors, members, volunteers, and the ATCC staff for, make it possible. I am Ariel Bocio, Vice President of Argentina-Texas Chamber of Commerce, and I will be the Master of Ceremony. So now we are going to see a video, we are going to watch a video of the main sponsor, ProShale.
ProShale en Vaca Muerta. Energía combinada para el crecimiento del país.
So now we will continue with the opening remarks. We have here Ariel Masud, ATCC President, and Diego Zucalesca from Argentina, Executive Director and President. Please, Ariel.
Hello. Well, thank you very much to everyone. Good afternoon. I want you to welcome to the Bilateral Energy Summit Argentina-Texas 2026, jointly organized by the Argentine-Texas Chamber of Commerce and Prom Argentina. It's a true pleasure and an honor to have nearly 400 of you here at the Petroleum Club in Houston, plus the one connecting by live streaming. The Argentina-Texas Chamber of Commerce, ATCC, is a non-profit organization founded in 2016 with the mission of strengthening economic and institutional ties between Argentina and the state of Texas. Our more than 300 members, individuals and companies based in Argentina and Texas, works together to promote trade and investment in key sectors such as energy, technology, real estate, food, healthcare, and professional services. Our activities are anchored by 6 chapters, 3 of them in Texas, in the cities of Houston, Dallas, and Austin, and 3 in Argentina, Buenos Aires, the Central Region, and Neuquén, Patagonia. Today, the present and the future point to a genuine alliance between Argentina and Texas, one that has strengthened our ties and allows us to identify and act on concrete opportunities. On behalf of the ATCC Executive Board, I would like to extend a special thanks to Prom Argentina, the Argentina Investment and International Trade Promotion Agencies, as a co-organizer of this event, representing it at this summit by Executive President Diego Zucalesca. I also want to thank all our sponsors who make this week activities possible. in particular, Pan American Energy, Progel, Duxa Oil, Duralight, Plus Petrol, TCB, Quintana Energy, Oilfield Production Services OPS, and United Airlines. I would also like to acknowledge the government representative from both countries who are here today. From the Argentine Consulate in Houston, Daniel Beltramo, Carlos Martinez, and Vanina Chanino. We are honored to have representation from 5 Argentine provinces along the Vaca Muerta value chain. From the province of Neuquén, Governor Rolando Figueroa, Guillermo Koenig, the Minister of Economy and Industry, Gustavo Medele, the Minister of Energy, Leticia Esteves, Minister of Tourism, Environment and Natural Resources, Fernando Banderet, the Mayor of Añelo City, Claudio Larraza, the Mayor of Plaza Huíncul, from the province of Rio Negro, Mario Figueroa, the Secretary of International Relationship, and Romina Rodriguez Luge, the President of EDIPSA. From the province of Mendoza, Manuel Sánchez Bandini, the Secretary of Energy, Lucas Erio, Director of Hydrocarbons. From the province of Córdoba, Guillermo Acosta, the Minister of Economy and Finance, Inés Gerbaudo, the President of the Oil and Mining Cluster of Córdoba. And finally, representing the province of Salta, Carlos Zapata Rivero, National Congressman. I also want to highlight and thank Marcelo Rucci, the General Secretary of Oil and Gas Workers Union of Rio Negro, Neuquén, and La Pampa, the top labor authority in Vaca Muerta, whose presence and support reflects the alignment of all the stakeholders around this shared vision. I also want to extend the local organization support and the State of Texas authorities, Way One, the Executive Director of the Railroad Commission of Texas, Tim Tarpley, the President of the Energy, Workforce, and Technology Council, whose support is key to our work on both sides. And also, let me mention another supporting organization as the Argentine General Consulate, Pro Córdoba, University of Houston, ADIMRA, the cluster, Vaca Muerta cluster, and the World Chamber of Commerce of Texas, and finally, Pro Mendoza. Please join me in a round of applause for all of them. Let me take a few minutes to talk about why this event matters and why the alliance between Argentina and Texas is more important than ever. Argentina has been going through a fundamental shift since late 2023. The country has moved decisively toward market-oriented policies aimed at building the foundations for long-term sustainable growth. That means fiscal discipline, reducing inflation to manageable levels, and critically, opening the door to the kind of private and foreign investment Argentina needs to close its investment gap and expand its productive capacity. In that context, the energy tech sector stands out as the single greatest driver of economic transformation for Argentina, and here is why. The first point is Argentina needs to add over 10 percentage points to its investment rate to meaningfully expand supply and reduce poverty. Foreign investment is the primary lever to close that gap, and energy is where the opportunity is clearest. Vaca Muerta gives Argentina something rare: cheap, abundant energy in a world that is actively looking for diversify its supply sources. Flexible, scalable shape production is exactly what global energy markets need right now. Energy exports from Vaca Muerta could reach around $3 billion per year by the early 2030s, increasing Argentina total export by current level of by over 30%. That is not just an energy story, that is a macro story about currency stability and economy opening. Now, what makes the geopolitical moment particularly relevant for this room? We are living through one of the most significant reshuffling of global energy geopolitics in decades. Energy security has moved to the top of every government agenda. Allies matter, reliable suppliers matter, and flexible production that can scale up quickly without decades of infrastructure build-out matters enormously. That is exactly what Argentina and Texas have in common. The Permian Basin has shown the world that what is possible when you combine the right geology, the right capital, and the right regulatory environment. Vaca Muerta has the same potential, and today production there is already growing at 30% year over year. Infrastructure investment decisions worth approximately $50 billion are either underway or reaching FID during this year. That is not a projection, that is capital being committed right now. But there is the honest reality. Activity is also picking up in the Permian and across US shale, driven by stronger prices. That means that service, equipment, and skilled workforce that Vaca Muerta needs are in higher demand everywhere. We need to move quickly and decisively to avoid the bottlenecks that could slow development down. That is what this summit is about. This is not just a conference, it is a working session between two regions that understand each other, that share technical knowledge, that have complementary strengths, and that see a clear mutual interest in getting this right. Texas has the experience, the technology, the capital market access. Argentina has the resource, the momentum, the talent, the know-how, and a government that is genuinely aligned with attractive investment and making that happen. Together, we are combined, we can build something lasting. The opportunities are real. This week is the chance to make that concrete through conversation, partnership, and decision. I hope you make the most of it. I want to close by thanking the ATCC team who makes everything happen. A special thanks to our general manager, Josefina Ibarra, Tamara Becher, Agustín Sicardi, and Juan Aguirre for their passion, their energy, and their commitment. Welcome to the Bilateral Energy Summit Argentina-Texas 2026. Now I am inviting Diego Zucalesca, Executive President of Prom Argentina, to say a few words.
Bueno, Argentina, un beso. ¿Qué va a ser? Bueno, ¿cómo andan? I'm going to speak in Spanish. Sorry about that. I'm from Argentina. I like to speak in Spanish because I think I'm doing better. Básicamente lo que quería era transmitir un poco el espíritu de estos tiempos, ¿no? Que sin dudas marca lo que está ocurriendo entre la Argentina y los Estados Unidos. Me ha tocado participar de varios eventos donde este espíritu, este momento histórico que están viviendo ambos países, este momento histórico para el intercambio comercial entre ambos países, hay un espíritu ahí que veo constante, permanente en cada uno de los eventos donde me toca participar, empezando por el Argentina Week allí en marzo en Nueva York, que realmente fue extraordinario en términos de lo que ha ocurrido en términos de promoción de las oportunidades de inversión que tiene la Argentina, un espíritu en términos también de estrategia comercial y de promoción de las oportunidades que ha permeado en todo el equipo de gobierno a partir de una mirada que tiene el presidente de la Nación, Javier Milei, y que también obviamente tiene Karina Milei, la secretaria general de la presidencia, de poner en un lugar estratégico a Prom Argentino, que es justamente debajo de la Secretaría General de la Presidencia. Este espíritu, esta importancia, esta relevancia que tiene hoy por hoy la promoción comercial, bueno, sin duda se ha permeado en todo el equipo de gobierno de CIA y también en el sector privado. Esto lo vemos aquí también. Y de eso nos hemos hecho cargo inmediatamente en Prom Argentina en cada oportunidad que tenemos. Esta sin dudas, lo que ocurre en el marco de OTC, de OTC, para nosotros también lo es muy relevante. Si uno piensa lo que pasó en el 2024, cuando yo todavía no estaba a cargo de Prom Argentina y donde todavía la agencia no estaba debajo de la órbita de la Secretaría General de la Presidencia, bueno, habíamos desembarcado aquí con un pequeño stand, apenas 36 metros cuadrados, pocas empresas y algo que no representaba lo que empezaba a ocurrir en la Argentina. Bueno, hoy, 2 años después, llegamos con un pabellón nacional con 280 metros cuadrados, cientos de empresarios que acompañan la misión, 27 empresas, pymes, pero también muy grandes, y acá quiero hacer una destacada mención a YPF, nada más y nada menos. Ahí lo veo a Horacio hablando con Rolo Figueroa, y que aprovecho, Horacio, para agradecerte públicamente el compromiso que has tenido, no solo con YPF obviamente, sino también con todos los que de alguna manera nos sentimos interpelados por tu manera de llevar adelante la gestión y por lo que significa YPF para la Argentina. Una YPF que, insisto, está siendo puesta entre las líderes del mundo en el sector oil and gas y que este año nos acompaña también en el stand, y para nosotros es realmente muy relevante, muy, muy importante, y por eso quería destacarlo, como también la provincia de Mendoza, como también la provincia de Río Negro, como Añelo. Bueno, en fin, desembarcamos con mucha potencia, como les decía, también con un hito comercial como van a ser las rondas de negocios que van a ocurrir en el stand en el marco de la feria. Sin dudas todo esto marca un poco el espíritu de la época del que hablaba al comienzo, en una nueva Argentina. No podría pensarse en este Promo Argentina sin una Argentina como la que tenemos hoy, ¿no? Una Argentina con disciplina fiscal, con orden macroeconómico que va a terminar con la inflación, con el flagelo de la inflación, que avanza en una agenda de regulaciones pro empresa, que celebra acuerdos estratégicos con Unión Europea y con los Estados Unidos, por ejemplo, que sin duda la hacen mucho más atractiva la inversión, y que además acompaña con una normativa como por ejemplo RIGI, que incentiva las grandes inversiones con beneficios impositivos, aduaneros y cambiarios por 30 años, que es obviamente lo que cualquier inversor pretende. De hecho, el éxito está ya marcado por 13 proyectos que están en ejecución por 27.000 millones de dólares, algo así como el 4% del PBI argentino. En fin, no los quiero aburrir, pero bueno, nos apasiona todo lo que está ocurriendo en la Argentina, y algo de eso es lo que queremos transmitir con el pabellón nacional. Así que esperemos que ese espíritu también esté presente en el día de hoy y a partir de mañana en la feria. Llegamos para eso, llegamos para acompañar a nuestras empresas, llegamos para decirles que Argentina está lista para recibir inversiones y que el momento es ahora. Así que cuenten con Prom Argentina y con todos sus servicios para hacer realidad esas inversiones. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Ariel and Diego, for your words. Well, now we are going to switch gears. We have here a dialogue between Bárbara de Amato, that is the Economic Incentive Oversight Board member of Texas, CEO of Trilogy Capital Corp, and Way One Railroad Commission of Texas Executive Director. So I invite them to the stage, please.
Thank you. Should we have a seat?
No.
Okay. Cover this up a little. Come on there.
Hola.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I get up here? Hola. Horacio, Rolo, ¿cómo están? Yo soy argentina, pero hablo inglés. So I just want to say thank you. It is a pleasure. Oh, I should probably say it in Spanish as well. Un placer estar acá, segundo año con ATCC. Y bueno, ahora me paso al inglés. Un placer estar acá avanzando, ¿no? El futuro de la energía para Estados Unidos. ¿Se escucha? I'm going to go in English? Okay, fine. The future of energy for Argentina, for the United States, and for the world. I'm Barbara D'Amato. Appointed by Governor Abbott to the State of Texas Economic Board. Our oversight board oversees $2.7 trillion economy here in Texas. And what we do is allocate, these funds going into the various buckets, let's say, from energy to, from energy to ports to technology, et cetera. So all of the funds for the state of Texas go through our board. And at the same time, I also recommend the legislature on policy and trends, as well as advise the audit committee, the legislative audit committee for the state. In addition to that, on the private side, I handle I advance the agenda for our administration, which has to do with national security as well as economic security, right? So I do that with various nations. I host and meet with the various delegations from different countries, governors, ministers, presidential delegations, et cetera, that go through DC. And as you know, DC is the new Wall Street these days. Lots of money coming through DC. So, and then we allocate that throughout the various funds, as well as design strategies to develop these nations that are aligned with American interests and American priorities, but at the same time, shared interests with these nations, right? So that's a little bit what's happening these days. In addition to that, I'm going to be your moderator here today with Wei Wang. Wei is an executive director at the Texas Railroad Commission. Overseeing, we're going to go through his resume as well. Texas Railroad Commission does a lot of things. But I'm going to do a little background on him. So Wei was appointed by unanimous vote of the commissioners in 2018. He first joined the railroad as chief auditor in 2013 and was later appointed chief financial officer. Recently, in 2023, he was appointed by Wyoming Governor Gordon as member of the Interstate Oil and Gas Compact Commission, Orphan Wells Task Force. Prior to joining the Railroad Commission, Wei served as advisor to Texas Governor Rick Perry. He's amazing as well. He established the Governor's Compliance Division, responsible for monitoring $1.6 billion in capital. In addition to state government service, Wei worked in the private sector for a national healthcare company and at one of the top 10 CPA firms in America. He holds dual degrees in administrative studies and computer science and is a CPA. Thank you, Wei, for being here.
Thank you for having me. And my Spanish is a little bit rusty.
But he said he likes Malbecs.
So, bienvenido a Texas. Texas, right? ¿Cómo está usted? I'll stop there.
Muy bien, muy bien. So I'm going to talk I'm going to give some context as well. What's happening in the United States, right, in the industry. From my standpoint as a Wall Street banker, starting as a Wall Street banker, when we talk about attracting capital, which is capital formation, United States remains the primary engine, right? And when we talk about exploring capital deployment, right, we can say, okay, we're going to deploy capital in mature markets, which is the United States, or we're going to deploy internationally. And when we do it internationally, there's different ways to do that. In the past, sometimes, I will say sometimes, money hasn't been very smart about how it gets allocated internationally. Why? Because Wall Street would have taken a look, perhaps, or companies would have taken a look at it as a diversification strategy, purely globalization for globalization's sake. And what that means is they wanted the red dot on the map. And we all know that's a formula for disaster. Why? Because money goes where money's welcome, right? And money needs risk-adjusted returns. So at the end of the day, you have to methodically look for yield and obviously do things that make sense. So what we saw was a little bit of a return, I would say deglobalization, right? And we started to see that trend, money coming back to mature markets, to regions that provide that risk-adjusted return. But then we saw a new trend happening, which is what I call diplomatic capital, right? which behaves different than Wall Street capital. So diplomatic capital is more focused. It's highly critical, highly strategic diplomatic capital allocated to priorities of shared nations, right? So what we do in the United States, we take a look at nations and say, okay, in negotiation, we call this, what's in it for you, what's in it for me? So we're looking at things, what's in it for us, right? And that's a little bit of what we're seeing today. We're seeing in the energy sector and critical resources, a little bit of what's in it for me, what's in it for you. Let's come together. Let's do these partnerships. So all of a sudden, DC has become the new Wall Street, right? And we see trillions and billions of dollars flowing through DC and through the various states as well. But a lot of that's how it gets redeployed internationally, right? So one of the things we talked about as well was this trend of, that I think in my generation hasn't been so common, which is money from the Americas being committed into the Americas as well. We saw that from the Shield of the Americas, right? Our administration was sort of repositioned, repurposed priorities from what would have been typically in the United States a Northern Hemisphere priority to a Western Hemisphere priority, which is, again, something wonderful, and I think for us to experience, right? We're seeing that emergence of a Western Hemisphere focus, and in particular, we're paying very good attention at South America, right? So what do we have? We have on the north the strongest, oil and gas, the largest producing country, right, in oil and gas, which is the United States, and in the south, one of the most attractive shale plays, globally. So with that said, and in addition to resources, by the way, also there is the combination of talent and jobs, knowledge transfer and capital investment that defines not just the future of energy, but also the technologies of tomorrow, right? So that's, I think, what we're seeing today, and this is a marvelous time, and the momentum is just very strong for every one of us to pay, good attention, because it isn't just about belonging to the Americas, right? It isn't a sentiment. This is truly a strategic play that the time to move is now, for sure. So. Okay. And as your moderator today, we're going to be asking Wei some questions relating to the Texas model, right? So, Wei, do you want to start at the 50,000-foot level, or do you want to work our way down, perhaps?
I'll follow you.
All right, let's do it. So, Shield of the Americas. This is a tough question. How critical is energy protection today from our adversaries? This is America, right? We again, what's driving the Shield of the Americas, was driving this strategic geopolitical positioning, has to do with energy protection and energy resilience, right?
Yeah, I'll just tell you a story. When Texas, where United States was going through the shale revolution about 15 years ago, there was a movie funded by OPEC countries. I'm not going to say which country. And it was talking about a landman going around Texas, securing land, leases, and it caused a lot of concern for landowners. So it's not portrayed correctly, but, people don't want to see the competition. Because in the last 15 years, Texas production has gone up to over 6 million barrels per day, and natural gas is 32 billion BCF per day. So a lot of competition. And one of our commissioners years ago visited one of the countries in the Middle East, and that's when President Donald Trump moved our embassy to another city. And he asked an ambassador, the energy security in Texas, what's happening in Texas, did that make a difference? And the ambassador's words was, it made all the difference. So energy security is very important to United States and to our friends and allies. And I remember 2018, I went to one of the European countries, and they were not buying American gas because the transportation cost was too high. But today, majority of the natural gas we produce here gets exported. So from pure economic perspective, it may not make sense. But going back to what you're saying, from national security, energy security, you want to make sure when you turn on the stove, there's gas there. When you turn on the switch, there's electricity there.
Absolutely. And real quick, these days, OPEC is a little bit on the news. So what are your thoughts? We sometimes talk about an OPEC 2.0, right? Can that model work in the Americas?
Well, that model actually started in Texas in the 30s of the 20th century, because we were producing too much in Texas, and the Royal Commission came out with a proration schedule that kind of tells you how much oil a well can produce. And then after the 70s, the OPEC country took that model, and I would recommend one book. Alan Greenspan wrote a book, Age of Turbulence. So there's a chapter in there about proration, OPEC, and Royal Commission. So the model worked in the United States, because the market destruction was real in the 30s and 40s, and the commission had to curtail production. And during COVID, the commission had a 2-day conference. The commissioner heard testimony from a lot of companies, and some are for proration, some are not. And we made a decision not to curtail our supply because demand is going to be there. I think EIA is estimating 1.5 million barrels per day for 2026, and OPEC is estimating 1.6 million barrels per day. And Texas is producing 6.6, and I think Argentina is 900,000 barrels per day. So we're small, relatively small, in comparison to in terms of the global demand. So the demand there, oil and gas is not going away for the next 30, 40 years. And so it would work. It's actually started here. And so that would be my answer.
Thank you. Wonderful. So now let's talk about the Texas model. Texas remains the global standard in oil and gas production, but the sector extends beyond production, right? It is power, it's pipelines, logistics, critical resources, land management, water management, environmental stewarding, waste management to an extent, technology, habitat restoration. I mean, all of this is what gets overseen and managed by the Railroad Commission. And in addition to that, all this is powered by small and medium-sized and large-sized operators and producers and research and development, et cetera, and suppliers. So what are some of the most important lessons, would you say, on efficiency, execution, and competitiveness you can share with the audience from the Railroad Commission?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is consistency. And look, the company are investing in this region because they know what they're getting themselves into. They know how long it's going to take them to get their CapEx back, their ROI. So regulatory framework has to be stable and predictable. Every time we change our regulation, we have stakeholder meetings and take about a year or two. We have those conversations with the industry, both super majors, independents, and other stakeholders. And we routinely have those meetings and go over the language of the regulation. To give you one example, Chairman Jim Wright just changed Chapter 4, our environmental regulation, and that regulation has now been changed in 40 years. And it took to him 2 years to have multiple conversations with multiple stakeholders to get to where we are today. So having a stable regulatory environment is very important to investors because, again, they need to know how long it's going to take them, and they need to know the rule book is not going to change in the middle because they're investing millions and millions of dollars. They need to know the regulator is not going to change the rule on them in the middle of the game.
Fantastic. Speaking of Jim Wright, we were sitting right here last year, if y'all remember, And we talked about a cross-border energy ecosystem between Texas and Argentina and other countries. That's a little bit, so I talked earlier about money attracted to the U.S., money going international, and within that, it can stay in the U.S. or go international, and it can follow different strategies. But there's a third strategy we didn't talk about, which is triangulating opportunities. Money doesn't have to go one way, right? It doesn't have to be into Argentina, into a single, asset. It may very well be into the U.S. for Argentina, coming from Saudi Arabia, et cetera. So triangulating these ecosystems of both capital, technology, talent, et cetera, right? Creating that ecosystem is the future of energy, the way we see it. So what are your thoughts there? What is that ecosystem actually, what would it look like?
The ecosystem is very important because you have to have an infrastructure and the workforce to be able to develop the resources. So in Texas, we don't have a permitting process for a pipeline. So to take your product to market, we have eminent domain. The pipeline it's like highway. So they don't have to tell the commission or they don't have to get a permit from me. And they only have to register with me and tell me where they're building the pipeline. So I'm going there, sending my inspectors to make sure they're using the correct pipe, and then they're up to safety standards. But it doesn't take years to build a pipeline. So you can develop the resources and build a pipeline, take to the Port Houston or Port Corpus Christi, and export it. So efficiency and consistency, that would be my advice. When I started at the commission about 13 years ago, our drilling permit system, during the morning, my staff would go into the system and use it, and then we had to log out in the afternoon to allow industry to come in and log it. Today, it takes 2 days to get a drilling permit from Texas. If you have everything, all the documents in place, it takes 2 days. So it's a race to the market, right? So Texas is competing with New Mexico and other states. That's fine. We produce 42 to 45% of the production, and in other states, it may take 2 years. And also in other states, they have regulation. Every city can pass city ordinance. In Texas, HB 40 says the Rural Commission has statewide jurisdiction. So all the regulation is controlled by the commission. So the city cannot have rules on some barrier or build cast iron fences or production facility and plant flowers, native flowers. I've been to some states. I was like, no, that's too much. So efficiency, get your IT system, make it easy for the investor to come to your state. So Neuquén is very similar to Texas, right? Bagamueta is very similar to Permian Basin. And what you have there, the advantage is it costs $35 to $45 break-even point. In the United States, $67. So one thing I don't understand is why it costs $9 million to $13 million to drill a well in Neuquén. But in Texas, Eagle Ford is $6 million. So the drilling cost is significantly higher, but the break-even cost is lower. So that's the advantage of Argentina over Texas. So we look at Argentina as a major competitor in the future.
No doubt. I look at them as partners. And now we're going to ask the $1 million question. If you were hired by Governor Figueroa tomorrow to build a world-class ecosystem for Argentina to replicate the Texas model, what would be your first priority on the job? How long? ¿Cuánto le damos? 30 días, no sé.
Today.
60 días, ¿cuánto le damos? A ver, in 30 days, what would be your priority?
Well, actually, 2 priorities. Governor, we need to make the Red Stag and Malbec free for everybody.
¿Quiere el Malbec que sea gratis para todos?
And secondly, hair Barbara,
Sí, por favor.
So, again,
Inflarme a mí.
I will go back to consistency and efficiency. So the regulations in Texas, the mineral right owners own the mineral. In Argentina, the state owns the mineral.
El
But the
Estado es dueño de
policy-
los minerales. Okay.
Yeah, the
La
state. When I
provincia,
say the
claro, la
state,
provincia es
the
dueña de la tierra y de los derechos a los minerales. Subsuelo. El subsuelo, got it. Translation.
Yeah, and then the federal government sets the policy, right? The federal government. So there's a disconnect there. In Texas, the Rail Commission has a policy for production, for transportation, for exploration, right? But one advantage Argentina has, or Neil Ken has, is y'all own the mineral. The operator don't have to sign a lease agreement with 50,000 people.
Right.
Right? They signed the
En
agreement.
Estados Unidos sí hay que firmar con todos los terratenientes, digamos. Yeah.
So make it predictable and stable, and tell the operators or investor what they're getting themselves into. Help them to make sense of their investment so they know their ROI and how long they're going to recover their CapEx. Yeah.
Sí. Ya dijo que los derechos tienen que estar en los estados, ¿eh? En las provincias. So, what happens if you have to regulate pipeline that goes through 3 different states? Because we have access to the sea and...
I'll tell you
Okay.
what they do in Texas. So the Rail Commission, yeah. So we regulate within Texas. So what people do is the pipeline company will build their pipeline maybe 1 mile, 2 miles to the state border. Or they could even build up to the the Mexico border. And then they'll build it that's regulated by the commission. The last mile is regulated by the federal government. So we set the standards and we adopt federal standards, and we don't adopt anything more than that. So we work with Louisiana, New Mexico, and then it wouldn't work in Argentina.
I come to United States here, and I want to make an oil pipe from Texas to Oklahoma. And let's say that let's go to Louisiana and go back. How you regulate there when there is 2 states? No, 1 mile, no 1 mile. I asked the question, okay? Let's say they want to from 1 state to another state and to the sea.
Yeah, that's
How you can
federal
regulate?
government. That's
Why federal government? Because there are 2.
Yeah, there are 2. It's interstate commerce. So I don't have jurisdiction in Louisiana.
It's different than Argentina. Because in Argentina, the states decide by themselves.
How does get to the border?
How do Oklahoma get to the border?
Yeah.
So they come across Texas, and then the pipeline within Texas go to Mexico. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, right, the success of Texas, no matter what, I think is the pro-business approach of the state. We have a phenomenal pro-business governor, Governor Abbott, and we have, we work very closely with our agencies and the commissions, with the General Land Office, Don Buckingham, with Jim Wright from the Railroad Commission, and together between the lands and the mineral rights and it's all policy and legislation, right, driven. But that's how we're seeing, growth happen over and over and over. It's sort of a compounding effect. And in addition to that, our governor is elected for 4 terms, 4 years.
Longest serving.
Right, exactly. So it's a very long term in the position, right? So you could be 16 years in the position. I don't know if that's the case with governors in Argentina. So, but anyway, so that's it for today. That's thank you for the questions. Appreciate the time. Thank you, Wade.
Yeah, sure.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Horacio, thank you. Governor.
Okay, let's continue with the program. And now, first of all, thank you very much. It was a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Horacio, also for bringing additional questions. That is a true conversation, okay? Now is your time. So we are going to have here the most passionate person about the Argentine energy industry, Horacio Marin. Horacio, thank you very much.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon. I'm going to talk in Spanish because it's my native language, okay? So there is translation, they told me, okay? I have to go quickly because I have half an hour, so I will be very quickly, okay? Okay, now Spanish. Voy rápido, me dijeron que tengo media hora, no me voy a tratar de no pasarme. Y voy a hablar de tres cosas. Bueno, estos saben que yo no represento IPF, hablo porque hablo, ¿de acuerdo? Pero no me pueden hacer juicio ni a mí, ni a IPF, ni a mi vieja, ni a mi hija, ni a nadie, ¿de acuerdo? Bueno, yo voy a hablar de... No pueden hacer. Y te lo estoy diciendo, así que lo estoy diciendo que es las condiciones que empiezo a hablar. Entonces soy yo que pongo las condiciones, no vos. Voy a hablar de tres cosas rápido. Argentina 2030, IPF 4x4. Pero no voy a... Solamente me pidieron que hable de efficiency peak, porque acá hay mucha gente. ¿Cuántas personas levanten la mano americanos que quieren invertir en Argentina en servicios? Ok, por eso voy a hablar un poco de Argentina y muy poco de IPF, solamente de la parte de eficiencias en IPF, pero no los voy a aburrir con el programa de IPF. Y después, para que sepan a dónde va IPF, multipliquen por 2 y es la Argentina. ¿Ok? Argentina 2030. Este es el objetivo de IPF. Pero acá quiero comentar algo. Yo creo que en Argentina, en energía, se generó un círculo virtuoso. Círculos virtuosos significan gobiernos nacionales, provinciales, seguramente lo que tiene que ver municipales, empresas, sindicatos, todos alineados a un objetivo que es crecer. Cuando no hay círculos virtuosos, no se cambian los países. Y yo pienso personalmente que en la industria energética argentina lo estamos en un círculo virtuoso. ¿Qué significa eso? Que no hay que especular, hay que invertir para generar riqueza. La riqueza lo generan los privados. Entonces, una vez que están las condiciones, hay que invertir, no especular, no hay que esperar. Eso es lo que ha pasado en nuestra industria. Este es el objetivo de IPF. El objetivo de IPF es que Argentina exporte más de 30.000 millones de dólares a partir del 2030. Y es un objetivo de industria, no es un objetivo solamente de la compañía. Esto no se logra con IPF solo. ¿Es necesario IPF? Sí, es condición necesaria, pero no es condición suficiente. Se necesita toda la industria y por eso estamos trabajando con toda la industria. ¿Por qué? Los últimos 20 años la Argentina estaba flat. Para poder ganar market share había que cagar a IPF. Me olvidé de pasar porque de ahora en más me ponen un disclaimer que dice que mis presentaciones no son aptas para menores de 18 años por los... ¿okay? Ya lo inauguramos. Hoy no lo inauguré porque pensé que no iba a decir malas palabras, pero voy a decir malas palabras. Bueno, les expliqué eso porque les voy a explicar muy rápido Argentina. ¿Qué es lo que estamos viendo? Acá en la izquierda de ustedes ven cómo van a ir las exportaciones. No me meto en temas económicos, cuál es la balanza comercial para no entrar en temas más complejos. Fíjense, 30.000 era al principio y nosotros estamos teniendo hoy 45, el número es 48 y si se da el otro LNG seguramente estamos en los 49, 50.000 millones a partir del 2031, 2032. Lo único que quiero enfatizar acá es que estamos duplicando la producción total de Argentina. Vamos a ir a 1,5 millones de barriles. Raista ya dice 1.800.000. Primero me decía que estaba equivocado, ahora dice que dice más que nosotros, lo cual me pone muy contento. Significa que toda la industria estamos respondiendo muy bien a los desafíos. Fíjense cómo la industria de oil and gas va a ser el cebador a la macroeconomía argentina. Y va a dar la posibilidad para que después vengan la minería, el litio y otras inversiones de muy largo plazo. Miren en el otro gráfico la comparativa entre la energía y el campo. El campo es la única turbina que tenía la industria argentina y un avión con una turbina no anda. Cuando no hay, ¡pum!, se caía. Entonces no estábamos. Nosotros le estamos generando la segunda turbina. Entonces va a ser un avión seguro. Y eso se lo afané a él, que fue el primero que lo escuché cuando era ministro de Energía, pero las cosas que también se toman, ¿de acuerdo? Lo que no hay que hacer plagio en la vida, pero hay que decirlo. Está bien, así que lo tomamos. Ahora, yo voy a simplificar en 3 cosas. ¿Por qué se da eso? Y estamos ya en el círculo virtuoso. El primero es el gobierno nacional. A la derecha pueden ver cómo baja el riesgo país, cómo baja la inflación, que estaba yendo a hiperinflación, cómo bajó. ¿Y qué pasó? Se generó una estabilidad macroeconómica muy importante. Hay un gran proceso de desregulación muy fuerte. Y no es solamente el gobierno nacional, sino tiene las provincias, entonces tenemos que desregular. Y después hay un régimen para inversiones que se llama RIGI. Sin RIGI no había LNG, sin RIGI no hay inversión. No se podía hacer rápidamente el círculo virtuoso, no de YPF, de toda la industria. YPF sí decidió ir al círculo virtuoso el primer día. Porque si no soy un pelotudo. Si me dicen venía a generar valor, le voy a decir, estamos de acuerdo, ¿no? Si no, no agarro. ¿De acuerdo? Hay que salir rápido. Hay que lograr ir para arriba. Esta es la clave. El RIGI, es más, hoy que está de moda después de lo que está pasando en el Medio Oriente, que se habla de que los países ya no hablan de precios sino de seguridad. Bueno, a nosotros primero en el RIGI era más importante la seguridad jurídica, cambiaria, tributaria, que las mejoras económicas que da el RIGI, que son muy importantes. Y esto fue lo que logró que nosotros podamos ir muy rápido hacia un LNG. Muy importante para la Argentina, que es, no voy a hablar hoy, ¿de acuerdo? Porque me dijeron, habla menos y de esto. Lo primero es esto, la transformación macroeconómica. Segundo, vaca muerta. ¿Hay agua? Tomar del pico, no importa. ¿No? Sí, que no se puede tomar del pico. ¿Y dónde lo dejo? Lo dejo
Dame, por eso.
Es lo mismo.
Ahí está.
Es lo mismo, sí, lo mismo. Nadie tomó de una botella. Levante la mano quien no tomó una botella en su vida. Segundo es vaca muerta. Y esto es clave. O sea, tenés que tener las 3 cosas que van a ver. La macroeconomía, la calidad de vaca muerta. Bueno, ¿por qué era condición necesaria YPF? Rápido. Ese mapa, lo ven celestito y azul, es donde YPF tiene shares. Está básicamente en todo vaca muerta y puede ver que está alrededor del 50%. Si YPF no desarrolla vaca muerta, no se desarrolla vaca muerta. Si los demás no desarrollan, tampoco es vaca muerta. Al medio ven las CUR, que son las acumuladas totales de los pozos el primer día hasta que se abandonan, hecho por Rystad. Y del otro lado, Wood McKinsey, así nos dicen que para ser más, ¿cómo se llama?, equilibrado. Al medio dice parte técnica. La roca de vaca muerta es mejor que cualquiera de las rocas petroleras de Estados Unidos, de shale, y también en gas. Solo Haynesville que es igual. Haynesville profundo es igual a vaca muerta, tiene los mismos recursos, es muy parecido. lo que tiene muchísimo más Estados Unidos es muchísimo más recursos que Vaca Muerta. Vaca Muerta tiene mucho menos recursos que Estados Unidos, pero es mucho más no rentable, sino tiene, desde el punto de vista técnico, mucho mejor. Pero cuando vamos a la rentabilidad, que son los siguientes gráficos, donde se ve el break-even en el eje de las X y la productividad en el eje de la Y, lo que tienen que buscar ustedes, arriba Vaca Muerta, arriba Vaca Muerta. ¿Y dónde están? A la izquierda. Si está a la izquierda significa que los break-even de Argentina son similares a los de Estados Unidos. Entonces se da la condición. Económicamente somos comparables a Estados Unidos, así que todo lo que son las compañías de servicios lo necesitamos, porque si no, no bajamos los costos. ¿De acuerdo? Pues si no, hay muy poca competencia. Cuando hay poca competencia, hay mayores costos unitarios. Y nosotros vinimos a romper los zoológicos, porque si no se rompen los zoológicos, los costos son altos. Entonces después tenemos pozos más caros, rentabilidades menores. Y la tercera es la inversión. Acá podría estar mucho tiempo, pero va a ser corto. En la industria estamos trabajando colaborativamente y hay a la derecha de su imagen, hay montones de proyectos que ya hicimos juntos. El oleoducto de Vemos, los Argentina, los LNG y el Instituto Vaca Muerta, que es de educación, que supongo que hablarás, ¿no? Así que no voy a hablar nada. Y fíjense de lo que es las inversiones, y esto va para todos los americanos, pero los argentinos ya lo sabemos, que quieren ir a Argentina, por favor vengan. Fíjense, la inversión en todo, asumiendo el LNG, va a ser del 25 al 31, 130 mil millones de dólares. Si uno divide promedio, les aseguro que da una inversión que es igual o mayor a la super major todo el mundo. Por lo tanto, Neuquén, los próximos 5 años, es el lugar más, como les dice usted en Estados Unidos, más hot de inversiones que puede ocurrir. No hay ninguna parte del mundo que va a tener esta inversión. Así que los esperamos. Bueno, esta es la primera parte que quería mostrar. YPF 4x4. Muy corto. Para llegar a esos 30.000 tiene que haber un camino. Entonces en YPF decidimos definir 4x4, que la compañía tenga un valor a los 4 años 4 veces más de lo que tenía cuando iniciamos. Y creo que lo vamos a superar. Y en el 31, cuando me vaya, yo creo que vamos a multiplicar por otro orden de magnitud. Yo creo que vamos a dejar 10 veces de lo que era YPF. Ahora, el camino lo tenemos que tener claro en YPF. Todos tenemos que ir el lunes. Y si tu jefe no te da bola, saber qué tenés que hacer. Y esa es la clave, que haya pasión. Que la gente todos los días cuando vaya sepa lo que tenemos que hacer. Lo que llamamos los miles de soñadores son los que logran los resultados extraordinarios. La diferencia en una compañía con resultados extraordinarios de una compañía de resultados ordinarios es solamente la pasión. No es otra cosa. Todos sabemos trabajar. Todos sabemos hacer las cosas. La diferencia es el que da la extramilla. Hoy en YPF se da la extramilla. Y acá está la explicación. Los 1 y 4 extraemos desarrollo Vaca Muerta. ¿De acuerdo? El segundo es el manejo activo de portafolio. Nos fuimos donde perdemos valor, donde perdíamos plata, compramos mejor y generamos un ecosistema de los cuales estoy muy contento, que hay muchos, que hoy tienen las áreas de YPF y ya las manejan mejor que YPF. ¿Pero por qué? Porque YPF es una compañía grande, es una compañía que factura 20.000 millones de dólares. No puede estar en áreas pequeñas. No puede estar. No puede estar en áreas donde el costo, lifting cost, está entre 25 y 82, cuando tenemos Vaca Muerta, más de 220.000 millones de dólares de inversiones en pozos, con un lifting cost entre 3 y 4. Entonces nos teníamos que concentrar en Vaca Muerta, y eso es lo que hicimos. Y el tercero es la locura, hay que ser loco para lograr resultados, y todos estamos locos, que es las eficiencias upstream dumping. Yo me voy a concentrar ahí para mostrarles algunas cosas, para que vean los que vienen a invertir en qué país se encuentran. ¿De acuerdo? Y les voy a ir contando en esa parte, sobre todo de upstream. ¿De acuerdo? Ahora creo, si recuerdo bien la presentación, viene un video. El video es un video de Real Time Intelligence Centers. Nosotros cambiamos forma de trabajar. No se trabaja más en forma de monitor. Todos vemos, usando tecnología, inteligencia artificial, millones de datos. Les digo rápido, pues no va a estar acá. En pozos manejamos, van a ver, desde Buenos Aires, cada 3 personas manejan 4 redes de perforación y recibimos 35 millones de datos por día. Lo mismo pasa con las fracturas. No hay más van en el lugar. Los van para definir están en Buenos Aires y se define desde ahí. Y lo más impresionante es la operación. En la operación recibimos la friolera de 1.500 millones, creo que es 1.500 millones de datos por día. Y también tenemos real time. Bueno, ahora van a ver, y hay un, por una cuestión de lógica, no voy a decir, porque uno como yo que come hamburguesas, que va a preguntar ahí y dice, está mal hecho el video, y lo quiero para que se den cuenta. El flaco le pregunta a la inteligencia artificial si está todo bien. Hicimos un video incorrecto, pues para mostrar que está todo bien. No siempre está todo bien. Entonces le dice, sí, está todo bien, bueno, avísame, y nadie va a entender un carajo. No es así. Dividimos una refinería en 4, se los cuento ahora, para que lo vean ahí, y hay 4 agentes de inteligencia artificial y uno que concentra. Y si vos le preguntás a esa refinería que es en Neuquén, ahí hicimos el piloto y ahora lo estamos extendiendo. Si le preguntás, te dice, lee todos los manuales, lee todas las cosas, lee todos los datos atmosféricos, toda la presión atmosférica, todo, y te dice lo que tenés que hacer. Te dice, no, flaco, esto trae 3 grados menos, cambia esta válvula y en media hora vas a ganar, YPF va a ganar 4.802,34. Eso es lo que yo lo he visto. Y no está ese ejemplo. Está un efecto que dice, está todo bien. No está todo bien. Es muy difícil tener una refinería las 24 horas en el punto óptimo. ¿De acuerdo? Lo van a ver, pero imagínense las cosas que se pueden hacer. No se escucha. No se escucha. No, pará. No se escucha y estamos al horno. Volvé y hacelo escuchar. Poné sonido, porque aparte después tengo el mejor video de todos. Acá hago descuento, es un problema tuyo, es técnico. Decime cuándo lo paso. Ahora se pone nervioso ya. Te aviso que en el real time, si tardan 2 minutos, perdemos un pozo. Así que imagínate la cantidad de pozos que estás perdiendo.
At YPF, we are leaders. We are benchmarks. We set the course with technology, and we do so with efficiency and professionalism, generating value for our company and for Argentina. This is an Arctic, an operations center with real-time data for making decisions that translate into concrete action. From here, we own the live operation and process millions of data points to anticipate and act intelligently. The center operates continuously, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We have inaugurated 9 Arctics across the country, all connected to the same network. From each center, we go directly to the operation it controls. With backup connectivity and field devices, we monitor remote operations and act with precision in real time.
¿Es óptima la temperatura de la T302 para la actual producción de metanol?
La temperatura del equipo T es óptima para la producción actual.
Avísame cuando este valor salga de la tolerancia.
What's coming next consolidates this path, the path of continuing to take YPF to the top.
No voy a pasar por acá. Estos son todas las transformaciones tecnológicas que hicimos en un año. Y no voy a hacer mucha propaganda, pero yo estoy fascinado con una que es único en el mundo. Nosotros vemos en real time todos los surtidores, todos los pumps de cada una de las 1.750 estaciones de servicio. Hasta vemos la NAP, la siesta, y ahí hay periodistas, no saben cuál es la provincia que más duerme en Argentina de la siesta. Yo la sé, pero no me lo va a sacar nadie. No sé. Bueno, vamos a eficiencias. Eficiencias. En perforación, les quiero contar a los que van a venir. Nosotros tenemos todo hecho en estándar. Tenemos 56 tareas que seguimos los tiempos y la gente en real time va viendo si cumple o no los tiempos, y de esa forma vamos mejorando continuamente, una mejora continua. Cada 3 meses cambiamos los estándares en forma automática según el BES 40. ¿De acuerdo? En 2 años aumentamos la perforación 66%. Bajamos 15% los costos, y acá hay montones de cosas que hemos hecho. 40 pozos ya perforamos en forma autónoma. Son 3.000 metros de profundidad, 3.000 metros horizontales, y lo hacemos desde la computadora de Buenos Aires, esos 3 flaquitos, y en el equipo solamente enroscan las barras. Todo lo demás lo hace en forma automática. Hicimos 40 pozos, creo que somos muy pocas empresas pueden decir que han hecho esto. Tenemos los récords que quieran, no importa, el récord no es importante para decir soy el mejor. El récord es muy importante para la mejora continua, para que la gente vea que se puede hacer. ¿De acuerdo? Mi objetivo, que parece una locura, aunque mejoramos 66% y ya estamos en 1/3 de los tiempos cuando se empezó Vaca Muerta, mi objetivo personal es que nos vayamos perforando a la mitad del tiempo que estamos hoy. Va a ser bien fuerte, pero hay que hacerlo. Bueno, en completación, mejoramos, fíjense, 61% la cantidad de tiempo de bombeo. Hoy estamos haciendo prácticamente simulfrac en casi todo, cuando se puede, porque a veces los pozos están con diferentes profundidades y ahí no se puede hacer simulfrac. Pero cuando estamos haciendo simulfrac, y ya estamos en más de 20 horas de promedio de bombeo. Yo sé que acá en Estados Unidos, alguien, díganme si no es cierto, la última vez que leí y vi, están en 22 horas. Nosotros vamos a llegar a las 24 horas rápidamente. Es decir, que los equipos están continuamente bombeando. La máquina crítica es el bombeador. Tienes que estar continuamente bombeando. Ya estamos en 22 horas. Bajamos los costos, y acá no están los costos que ya hemos bajado con las compañías de servicio, con licitaciones transparentes y complejas, porque estamos peleando para que Argentina tenga los costos que realmente tiene que tener la industria. Y acá también hemos hecho la primera fractura autónoma de Halliburton en el mundo. Es decir, que de Buenos Aires a los bombeadores le decimos cuánto tiene que bombar, cuándo para, cuál sube, cuál viene, cuánta arena, vamos cambiando. Ya hicimos 3.000. Fuimos los primeros en implementar biofuel, y está trayendo Halliburton el primer equipo eléctrico en la República Argentina a partir de octubre. Es el primer equipo que se va a utilizar fuera de los Estados Unidos como eléctrico en el mundo. Bueno, y ahí hemos tenido un récord de 110 horas continuamente bombeando. Eso significa que se puede hacer. Lo importante, como digo, los récords para poner objetivos muy altos que se pueden lograr. Al principio es una felicitación, luego pasa a ser un continuo, y ahí está hecho el trabajo. Acá voy rápido, pero en operaciones, bueno, tenemos un real time en Neuquén que es flashable, realmente es impresionante. Y ya tenemos drones, tenemos la cantidad, a ver, me lo sacaron los datos, bueno, mejor, podría haber dicho cualquier boludez, pero son alrededor, el número que yo tengo en la cabeza son 1.340 millones de datos por día que recibimos. Y ahora lo que estamos haciendo es una gran transformación y tomando gente de Data Analytics, si tienen hermanos, tíos, díganmelo, que vienen y entran sin siquiera ser evaluados en YPF, porque tenemos tantos datos que el problema es que todos somos, como yo, dinosaurios. Tenés millones de datos y no los sabés sacar. Entonces, estamos haciendo esa transformación. YPF 2030. Rápido. ¿Qué son estos gráficos? Va a haber otro. Este es el total de las áreas, pero no propio de YPF. En azul, esto no es más de lo que presentamos en New York el año pasado y es lo que vamos a actualizar en abril del año que viene en la Bolsa de Nueva York. Así que estos son datos oficiales. Fíjense, lo que es áreas es lo que dijimos. Lo que es azul es lo que estamos entregando. YPF está entregando lo que dijo. Y vamos muy rápido. Hay áreas que la agarramos. Hay un área que es emblemática. Estaba en 2.000 barriles y en 18 meses la pusimos en 55.000 barriles. De 2 a 55. Eso es lo que es YPF hoy. Es todo rápido, todo tratamos de hacerlo bien, con mucha excelencia y mucha productividad. Y esa es otra de las razones por las cuales tenemos que salir de los campos maduros. Tenemos 16.500 pozos para perforar, locaciones, auditadas por The Golden McNaughton. Eso significa más de 220.000 millones de dólares. Y tenemos que hacer 2.800 pozos en 5 años. La velocidad a la que vamos a ir es 3X de la que estamos acostumbrados como operador y en realidad en 2X propio. YPF va a ser una compañía extremadamente rentable. Perdón. Y esto es propio. Acá está en verde, en la diferencia con los demás, es lo que está dando el neto de vaca muerta respecto a lo que dijimos. Fíjense que vamos correctamente. O sea, estamos cumpliendo los programas a rajatabla. Y tenemos que hacer como si fuesen propios 10.300 pozos. Es decir, que nosotros tenemos como el 60% de los pozos son propios para llevarlo a un tema, a una jerga. ¿Y qué vamos a dejar? Una compañía, esos top 10 shell player worldwide, pero esto es teniendo en cuenta que todas las de acá de Estados Unidos se mantienen en pico. Yo creo que vamos a estar mejor que eso. Vamos a estar bien. Es la primera, yo no encontré todavía, compañía integrada no convencional del mundo. No hay ninguna que es integrada full con no convencional. Vamos a ser el primer exportador de lo que se le ocurra en la Argentina. Va a ser una empresa world class, ya lo es. En downstream, cuando yo ingresé, La Plata tenía margen cero. Hoy tenemos $22 por barril. Y en 100 años es la primera vez que YPF gana el premio a la mejor refinería de Latinoamérica. Y el año pasado en el World Petroleum Congress nos dieron a YPF la mejor compañía del continente americano, incluido Estados Unidos y Canadá. Nos dieron el premio a la mejor compañía 2025. Altamente tecnológica. Las encuestas hoy dicen que la gente también, somos altamente tecnológicos, como lo vieron, pero la gente en Argentina dice que la compañía de más tecnología en la República Argentina, y es cierto, porque tengo que hablar mucho, sino para mostrarles montones de cosas. Y vamos a generar mucho cash flow, vamos a empezar a pagar dividendos en el 2028. Elite de recursos humanos tenemos, pero acá queremos enfatizar que no solamente Instituto Vaca Muerta, que es para trabajadores de Boca del Pozo, trabajadores del sindicato que estamos capacitando, sino que nosotros empezamos a enviar a partir de este año 15 másters a los Estados Unidos. No a Europa, para que no vayan a boludear, para que vengan a Estados Unidos a estudiar, ¿ok? Y estamos concentrados en el offshore. Tenemos un acuerdo con Eni para ver si a fin de año decidimos si perforamos en Uruguay. Yo creo que va a ser un gran... Yo creo que se va a encontrar. Metieron tiro en el pie. Se encuentra a todos lados menos en Argentina. Se encontró en Namibia. Era lo mismo. Así que en el Atlántico se está manejando mucho eso. Y ahora viene un video y termino. Pero antes... Con el video termino, no digo más nada, pero antes les quiero decir que en YPF eliminamos la palabra éxito y fracaso. En YPF no existe más la palabra. El que dice éxito o fracaso pierde el bono. En YPF hablamos de superación. Hay que poner niveles muy altos y no pasa nada si uno no logra el objetivo que se interpuso con 8 años de anticipación. Lo importante, y esto por eso lo voy a decir, porque al final voy a decir algo, lo importante es que cuando uno llega a ese valor es mejor que el que estaba. A mí no me interesa si es 30.000, 50.000, 20.000 o 70.000. Lo que sí estoy seguro que en el 2031 Argentina y la industria va a estar en una mejor posición. Eso me lo enseñó mi abuela, que era una señora muy pobre de Italia, y eso me lo enseñó lo que es la superación. Voy a decir las últimas palabras y después pongo el video, que es el video que representa hoy a YPF. Respiro YPF, transpiro YPF, pienso YPF, amo YPF.
If I tell you that everyone arrives on time and does what they have to do, you'd say it's a German company. If I tell you it's at the forefront of technology, you'd say it's a Korean company. If I tell you it's the one that sells the most coffee in the country, you'd say it's a Colombian company. If I tell you it runs like clockwork, you'd say it's a Swiss company. If I tell you it exports hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil to the world, you'd say it's a Saudi company. If I tell you it plans to grow fourfold in 4 years, you'd say it's a Japanese company. If I tell you it works to export gas to the world, you'd say it's a Qatari company. If I tell you it reaches every corner, you'd say it's a Chinese company. If I tell you it provides jobs to thousands of people, you'd say it's an Indian company. If I tell you it's a company that inspires national pride, you'd say it's an American company. If I tell you it's a company that today can do all of this and also has a heart like no other, you'd say it's YPF, the company from Argentina.
Muchas gracias y nos vamos a matar para lograr los objetivos.
Gracias. Well, Horacio, thank you very much. A wonderful presentation, a lot of passion. And now I want to say thanks to some bronze sponsors: Allison, AT Inversiones, Capex, DDC Software, Rombit, Ventia Energy, Del Sur, Bonchil, Oliden Technology, Pickering Energy Partner, Solar Urbano Inversiones, Transeparations, Business ASPA, Derrick, Clusteyer, Pomtear, Inteligencia Artificial, Hosman, Magna, Inisoft, Qubit, KES Latam Business, Algar Corporation, Artec Ingeniería, LS Group, Oil Solutions, T-Market, ARX Stampers. Thank you very much for supporting us in this event. Yeah. So next is something amazing, because it's something that we worked so hard in the chamber to help that happen. And we have a wonderful partnership between a great Argentina company and a great US company, Pan American and Continental. So before going there, I will share a video of Pan American Energy.
We are Pan American Energy, a leading global energy company. We are an organization of more than 21,000 men and women who every day bring sustainable and affordable energy to the global markets. Over the last 15 years, we've invested on average over $1.5 billion every year. We produce around 250,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. We are Latin America's largest private producer of oil, natural gas, fuels, and renewable energy. We are present in Argentina, Bolivia, Mexico, Brazil, Uruguay, and Paraguay. We produce top quality fuels in the most modern refinery in South America. We operate operate the most modern network of service stations, providing first-class customer service. In 2024, we signed an agreement with Golar LNG for the 20-year deployment of a floating LNG vessel in Argentina, which will produce liquefied natural gas, LNG, for the export markets. We invest. We innovate. We grow. We are Pan-American Energy. Energy for the world.
Well, now we are going to have an interview. Marcelo Joffre, Vice President of Supply Chain and Security in Pan American Energy, will interview Ross Stewart, U.S. Vice President, Land and Business Development, Continental Resources.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Thank you very much, Horacio, for letting me do in this presentation after him. Thank you very much. We will try to keep the mood, I promise. And thank you, Ross, very much for being here. I'm Marcelo Joffre, Vice President of Procurement, Supply Chain, and Corporate Security for Pan American Energy. And I have the privilege to interview, even though I'm not a journalist, to interview Ross Stewart. Ross serves as the Vice President of Commercial and Corporate Development for Continental Resources. Ross and his team are responsible for land division orders, land administration, and business development. Mr. Stewart has over 17 years of experience in land and business development across the oil and gas industry. And Mr. Stewart is a member of the American Association of Professional Landmen, is a certified professional of landman, and was awarded the 40 Under 40 honor for hard energy in 2025. He holds a Bachelor's of Business Administration in Energy Management from the University of Oklahoma. Thank you very much, Ross, for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time for this interview. And as Ariel said, we are going to share to the crowd, to you, the partnership between Pan American and Continental, bridging Permian and Vaca Muerta. So Ross, thank you very much. Please give us a brief introduction, a brief history of Continental Energy.
Sure. First, thank you very much for having me. It's truly an honor to represent Continental amongst so many great industry professionals, regulatory professionals, helping the Vaca Muerta and, more importantly, Argentina thrive. So you actually have the clicker over there, I think, Marcelo, if you can click to the next slide. I'm going to give a decent history of Continental because I think it's important to frame up why Continental invested in Argentina and why Argentina is going to be a big part of Continental's future. So Continental initially was founded in 1967 by Mr. Harold Hamm, who a lot of you either probably know or know of. We're an Oklahoma-based company, and really the premise for Continental's founding from Mr. Hamm is exploration mindset. He is an explorationist first and foremost, and always willing to push the envelope and find ways to do things that seem insurmountable at times. So when he founded that in 1967, he had a discovery in the northern part of Oklahoma shortly thereafter in actually an astroblim, where an asteroid had hit millions and millions of years ago and made an oil discovery under it for vertical oil production up in the northern part of Oklahoma. And that was a huge part of the first growth for Continental Resources that really was the main focus in Oklahoma till probably the mid to early 90s for the most part. And one thing that really took off for Continental is at that point in time, Harold was seeing the technology being developed for horizontal drilling. But what a lot of people don't realize is when horizontal drilling was initially put in place, most of it was primarily focused on gas reservoirs. There was a lot of discussion about can you actually extract oil horizontally through shale development. The Barnett Shale, some of the other shale reservoirs were really the main focus for it. And Harold had a vision for something in North Dakota, actually South Dakota. Brad would know. He's back there. Cedar Hills, which is the first full unit, 25, 30,000 acre unit, fully developed for oil horizontally. So we talk about horizontal drilling and what it's done, and it's done immense things. But Harold saw the vision for actually developing oil horizontally, as a lot of that was being done for gas development. And that now is known broadly as the Williston Basin for Continental. So we have a huge footprint in the Williston Basin. And for roughly 40 to 50 years, Continental was a two-basin company. We were in the Williston Basin in North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and we were in the Anadarko Basin in Oklahoma, which is where I mentioned our first kind of discovery that Harold had on the Ames Astroblim. And those areas were primarily developed through shale development, the Woodford and the Sycamore, as we would call it, in Oklahoma, also known as the Barnett for those in Permian, and then the Bakken and the Three Forks up in the Williston. And that was a big move for the company. It grew the company astronomically, as you can see on the slide. And we continued to develop those assets. And then in about 2020, shortly after the pandemic hit, we saw an opportunity to continue to grow through oil reservoirs. And really the first one of those was in the Powder River Basin in Wyoming. Powder River Basin's been a long-standing basin in the state of Wyoming. And the Niobrara Shale specifically is a very heavy oil-rich shale. It is actually Continental's oiliest basin, oilier than the Permian from a GOR and API gravity standpoint. And we made about three acquisitions roughly in about a year up there to core up that position, and have recently done another one to where we've got roughly 400,000 acres in the Powder River Basin now, drilling horizontal oil shale. Okay, so in the Anadarko Basin with the Woodford and the Sycamore, horizontal oil shale also. And shortly thereafter, from the Powder River Basin standpoint, we had an opportunity to enter the Permian Basin through an acquisition. And that acquisition consisted of about 100,000 acres on the Delaware side of the basin. And we made that acquisition from Pioneer Resources in 2021. And what a lot of people don't know, some of you may, is Continental actually had about 80,000 acres in the Permian prior to making that acquisition. And the way we had that acreage, like I said, an exploration-based company, is we had taken our learnings from the Woodford and the Sycamore in Oklahoma and applied them on a cross-section literally 500 to 600 miles long from Oklahoma to the Permian Basin, and saw that there was something there that was very similar to what we had in the Anadarko Basin. And we went and leased that acreage, some of it from the state of Texas, some of it from fee mineral owners. And when we bought Pioneer, we had already had about the amount of acres that we purchased from them. And to date, we've got about 325,000 acres in the Permian Basin. So holistically as a company, we produce roughly 500,000 BOE per day. We're headquartered in Oklahoma City, so go Thunder, Boomer Sooner for anybody in here. And we've got about 1,400 employees, mainly 900, 800-ish in Oklahoma City, and then in our respective field offices throughout the country. So on the next slide, if you can. Oh, I do have it now? Sorry. Oh, there we go. So this is just a general look at our basins in the lower 48, but after we had been developing most of our domestic, what we would call them basins with the Powder River, the Williston, the Anadarko, and the Permian, we had an opportunity to enter into Turkey on a JV, which was really our first international expedition, if you will, which was put in place by a partner that we have with Transatlantic and TPAO, the Turkish state-owned entity, which is more of an exploration focus, as you can imagine, the way I've talked about exploration. And that's ongoing as we speak. We're drilling test wells and trying to prove up that reservoir. That's been in place for roughly 9 months now. And shortly thereafter came Argentina. And really the way that Argentina transpired is we knew what the resource was. It's hard to ignore it. I think it's probably the best, if not one of the best shale reservoirs in the world. And that came to fruition through something that we'll talk about a little bit with our great partnership with Pan American for us to expand into yet another country to where we're currently in 3 countries when Continental over 58 years was in 1. So that's a high-level overview of Continental. Hopefully that's helpful for people that weren't familiar with Continental, and ready to get into questions if you are, Marcelo.
Thank you very much. Very impressive, really very impressive. Given that Continental is a pioneer in the shale revolution, what are the factors that Vaca Muerta made the ideal destination for Continental to growth internationally, and why Pan American Energy?
Yes, so the first thing for Vaca Muerta in Argentina for Continental was, like I said, the rock. It all starts with the rock at Continental, and when you look at that, it is extremely impressive what kind of rock there is in Argentina, specifically the Vaca Muerta, but there's a lot of other rock in the country too that's not specifically just the Vaca Muerta. And once we started looking at that more, we were actually introduced to Pan American, the great Bulgaroni family, Mariana right here, Alex, and really what started with us from the sense of, one, entering the basin, and two, the partnership with Pan American, was understanding more about regulatory framework, timing of operations, ability to take away product, growth potential. And we essentially got comfortable with all of that from having discussions with Pan American and them being incredibly open and transparent with us and allowing us to get up that learning curve, which was a big part of that for us on things other than just the subsurface. And, more importantly, the culture between the companies. Privately owned, heavy family involvement. It's just really interesting whenever we sit in meetings together, whether it be in Buenos Aires or in Oklahoma City. It almost seems like we should have been connected long before, the way that we all interact. So it was pretty much a no-brainer for us once we started having those discussions and understood more about the basin and really more about Pan American, which it was hard to turn away from.
Thank you very much for the nice words. In our partnership, Pan American will operate the assets, and you will provide all the expertise and conventional and all the history you have with the shale revolution. How do Continental unique capabilities accelerate and enhance the development for Pan American and in Vaca Muerta?
Yeah, so I showed on the prior slide, Continental operates roughly 5,000 wells. We've drilled roughly 3,000 horizontal wells. We're drilling horizontal wells right now in the Permian and in the Williston that exceed 3.5 miles in lateral length. So we're very good at drilling horizontal wells. There's actually a really neat area in southern Oklahoma where we drill the Woodford, and we'll drill 12, 13,000 feet deep, Mitch, somewhere around there, 2 to 3 miles long, and you can go a mile over, literally a mile over off Interstate I-35, and you will see the Woodford outcropped. You will see it on the surface, and we are drilling it 12, 13,000 feet underground a mile away. There are drastic subsurface changes in the southern Anadarko Basin. So from a drilling expertise, I think we've got the best drilling group in the lower 48. I would die on that hill. I think they're phenomenal. And reservoir classification for spacing, recovery, geologic success. One thing that I think we've learned from the Permian and from other areas that may dovetail into another discussion is, I don't know that we've looked back as an industry very much domestically and said, we didn't drill enough wells in that unit. I think we typically say we drilled too many wells in that unit, especially looking back 10, 15 years when the Permian Basin was really kind of at the peak of where the Vaca Muerta is right now. I mean, Vaca Muerta is at roughly 3,000 wells today. I think the Delaware Basin alone, from horizontal standpoint, I think the Delaware Basin alone is somewhere around 30,000 horizontal wells to date. But where the Vaca Muerta is 3,000 wells in is far advanced to where the Permian Basin was 3,000 wells in. It is not even comparable how far advanced the recovery of those resources are at this point in time. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much. Continental will also operate Los Tolos as an operator that you already purchased a few months ago from Plus Petrol. From a supply chain perspective, what do you see as the primary challenges you're going to face in Argentina?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Northern Hub or Los Todos del Oeste in general, a lot of it, in my opinion, is logistics. From a broad spectrum, it could be sand logistics, it could be water logistics, it could be transportation of chemicals, equipment. Another thing similarly to the Permian is the Permian was a declining conventional asset. It was known for a long time as the most uneconomic oil field in the world when it was a declining conventional asset, and it's just exploded. I think you're seeing a similar cadence in the Vaca Muerta in Argentina with that. So as this continues to expand, the logistics behind updating infrastructure, roads, I think rail is something that has got to be discussed at some point, particularly with sand. We believe that sand quality matters when you complete wells, and having more logistical flow for those products is something that I think will be the biggest focal point in us in the Northern Hub and throughout the basin.
Thank you very much. Well, there's an amazing and big crowd from Argentina here. Many providers, suppliers of all types. They come every year to this event. Thank you very much to all of them. But what's the message you have for the local companies? How important they will be in Argentina for your development and our development together?
Incredibly development. I'll echo what our COO said the other day at a deal in Oklahoma City. We need you. We need people coming into the basin. And really the way I view it, and Mariana and I were talking about this a little bit, there's a pie right now in Argentina, and everybody has kind of their slice of the pie. That pie is growing. It is going to get bigger. Horacio just showed it. I mean, it is going to get bigger. And Diane is my math person at the company, but if I have 10% of $100, I'm not going to turn my nose up at having 5% of $1 million. If that's the opportunity for me to still have a piece of a growing pie, that is something that I'm absolutely interested in. And for us as a company, and I think as an industry in the Vaca Muerta, you have to learn fast. And a lot of times you have to fail fast. That comes from operations, that comes from exploration, but you have to be willing to expand and incrementally grow through technology, through learnings, through collaboration. So I guess my sentiment to everyone would be, there is an opportunity to be a part of that pie, and somebody's going to take advantage of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As we already know, we, as the Chamber, and myself as a member of the Chamber from the beginning of the Chamber, 10 years ago, when we did this type of events in a small brewery, I don't see Ariel here. It's crazy how the Chamber has grown. And we always dream of bringing operators and bringing providers from US to Argentina. So if you had the chance to just one key message to US investors, given that you took the first step to go to Argentina, and also not only to the investors, to the local providers, to the US provider, what that message would be?
Can I have more than one message?
5.
I'm gonna beat this drum as much as I can. The Rock. There is going to be a place, and there's going to be production, and there's going to be growth in this basin. It's just all it comes down to. 2, one thing that we were very focused on going into it and been very, very pleased with, I don't know if Daniel is here, but Daniel Gonzalez, we've met with his group a lot, just generally trying to understand regulatory framework. The federal government is putting things in place to say yes, not to say no. Rigi is a great example of that. I think Horacio mentioned that a minute ago. And that was one thing that we had looked at, is there are opportunities to invest and incentivize that investment from Argentina. On the flip side of that, we're trying to look at what is going on in the United States to help solidify that investment. And the DFC that the United States runs from a financial corporation, they are putting in place insurance for protection for people to invest into numerous countries, including Argentina. And what's really unique about that is I'm not an insurance provider, but I know enough about people that provide insurance don't provide it on stuff that they're not comfortable providing it on because they don't think it's going to happen. They're providing insurance on items for Argentina because they are confident in the investment behind it. So you've got the rock quality. You've got the support of the federal level of Argentina. You absolutely have it at the provincial level. I don't know where Governor Figueroa went, but he absolutely feel like we have that support from him. And then now you have it from the United States perspective also. So we are in it. We're going to continue to be in it. And like I said, we need your guys' help from the service side because there's a pie and somebody's going to get the pieces of it.
Great. Thank you very much, Ross. That was the last question, and thank you everyone for being here. And I say to the operators and to the providers of US, let's follow this partnership, this example, how we did this partnership. And There are many opportunities in Argentina for local providers from US, so don't be scared. The rock is the rock, and that's the most important thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's continue with the program. And now I want to say thanks to the members of the organizing committee. All these people have been working for about 6 months in order to make this happen. And I want to recognize Gabriel Aguilar, Cristian Cerne, Federico Cerviño, Diego de la Vega, Gonzalo Chegaray, Carlos Frey, Pablo Ferrante, Federico Galloso, Guillermo Grimoldi, Mariano Jasperúe, Luis Pavón, Diego Robles, Gustavo Rossi, Esteban Sánchez, Federico Tagliani y Alberto Vázquez. Thank you guys, you are amazing. And I have a special recognition for Mariana Bulgeroni and Marcelo Joffre, that they have been wonderful in order to help us to extend our reach on US, and also in order to be sure that we can help the local suppliers in order to bridge the connection with US. So Mariana, Marcelo, thank you very much. And I want to also recognize her team, that is Daniela and Emiliano, and the people from the agency, the Pro Argentina, that is, we have several ones, Victoria Castro, Andres, and Pablo. So thank you very much, guys. Wonderful job. Okay, finally we are going to have a break. Okay, it's a 10-minute break, so Horacio talked about efficiency. We need to be efficient, okay? So take a break, and in 10 minutes come back, and please have a seat, and we continue.
We are Pan American Energy, a leading global energy company. We are an organization of more than 21,000 men and women who every day bring sustainable and affordable energy to the global markets. Over the last 15 years, we've invested on average over $1.5 billion every year. We produce around 250,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. We are Latin America's largest private producer of oil, natural gas, fuels, and renewable energy. We are present in Argentina, Bolivia, Mexico, Brazil, Uruguay, and Paraguay. We produce top quality fuels in the most modern refinery in South America. We operate the most modern network of service stations, providing first-class customer service. In 2024, we signed an agreement with Golar LNG for the 20-year deployment of a floating LNG vessel in Argentina, which will produce liquefied natural gas, LNG, for the export markets. We invest. We innovate. We grow. We are Pan American Energy. Energy for the world.
En Vaca Muerta. Energía combinada para el crecimiento del país.
In Patagonia, Argentina, the land never sleeps. It breathes, and in that pulse, there is energy. We've learned how to listen to it. We are Bentia Energy, an Argentine company built by Argentines, but above all, built by people. People who are out there, who know the terrain, who know how to get it done. Proud to produce on our land. We are at the heart of Vaca Muerta, home to one of the most important shale formations outside the United States. With operations across 7 strategic areas, our own infrastructure, and direct access to key the story of the airport, and it can feel a little out of your hands. But what if, instead of being stuck in line, the United app could help you just skip it? Looking for your gate? What if a map could take you right there? And instead of wondering about your checked bag, what if you could just follow along? So yeah, turns out a better travel experience is in your hands with the world's most downloaded airline app.
Some companies grow, and some companies transform. In just 1 year, 44 times over, through the acquisition of strategic assets and an executive team with technical expertise to execute them. That growth is built on 3 pillars: Vaca Muerta at the core, key midstream infrastructure, and conventional assets. We acquired 3D seismic, consolidating our position in the northern hub of Vaca Muerta, where we hold 230,000 acres. 3 asset acquisitions in 1 year, 9,455 barrels of oil per day, more than 1,000 wells in production, and a place among the top 10 natural gas producers in Argentina. We produce 21,200 barrels of oil equivalent per day. We have 9 concessions across Argentina and Chile, and 350 people making all of this possible. In every operation, the same commitment: respect for the environment, care for the community. Let's lead the energy future together.
el slide del mundo.
No sé, difícil que entre la gente porque hay un
cuello de botella. Sí. Okay, while we are waiting for the next, for the rest of the people coming into the room, we have something that I didn't expect to have, but the owner of this car, a Wick White license XCP1743, please go downstairs because it's blocking the parking. So if that person doesn't show up, everybody will have a very nice night here. So we need that person going there downstairs and take care of his car. Yeah, the car is a Wick White license XCP1743. Okay, so Felipe estaba acá. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's continue with the program. So we want to announce our next event. You know that the World Cup is around the corner, and we have the pleasure to have Argentina playing 2 games here in Texas, in Dallas. So in between games, we are going to have an US-Argentina business forum co-organized with Prom Argentina, in which we are going to cover 3 different sectors: energy, and technology. And in addition to that, we are going to have a network event in order to promote business and relationships. So we invite all of you to be part of the event, supporting us as sponsors or collaborating from where you can. Having said that, I want to invite to say a few words to the co-organizers that are Diego Zucalesca from Prom Argentina and representing Victoria Castro from Prom Argentina, and representing the ATCC, Federico Tagliani from Dallas chapter. Diego.
Bueno, buenas tardes. ¿Se escucha? Ahí va. Bueno, nuevamente, buenas tardes. Simplemente, bueno, esto da cuenta de lo que venimos haciendo desde Prom Argentina, que es aprovechar cada oportunidad que tenemos para promocionar las oportunidades de inversión, de negocios que presenta esta nueva Argentina. Como les decía al comienzo de este evento, probablemente no haya mejor ocasión o excusa que un mundial de fútbol, con todo lo que eso implica para la Argentina, que ese evento donde, bueno, vamos a sumarnos con una acción de promoción en sectores absolutamente inmejorables en términos de oportunidades. Así que eso vamos a hacer, los esperamos a todos, y todo apoyo, como decía antes Horacio, es bienvenido. En este caso, de lo que se trata es de justamente de aprovechar esta oportunidad para que más inversiones, más intercambio comercial suceda entre la Argentina y los Estados Unidos. Eso vamos a hacer. Muchísimas gracias.
Good evening, everyone. As we celebrate here the strength of the Argentina-Texas business relationship, I would like to ask your attention just briefly to the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. The Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex is one of the most dynamic regions of the Union. It's achieving 800,000 millions in GDP. It's an important center of energy, of advanced industrials, of logistics and technology. So next July, with Argentina playing 2 games in the same week there, we'll hope to receive all of you to have deep conversations about business, about football, and of course, trying to develop businesses and partnerships. So I hope to see you soon there. Thank you.
We will continue now with the program. We are going to have a panel about driving energy growth, leadership, investment, and execution. And before the panel, we are going to watch a video of Plus Petrol, one of the main sponsors.
We are Plus Petrol, an international, private, and independent company with over 45 years of experience in energy production. With presence in 2 continents, we're leaders in energy development, driven by creativity, innovation, and long-term vision. Our purpose is to promote sustainable, energetical development for the well-being of current and future generations. In Argentina, we are a reference in our industry, and our operations position us as one of the most recognized companies in the exploration and management of hydrocarbons. Our work translates into great results. With a future in mind and sustainable development, we operate with different concessions, conducting explorations and exploitations in the areas with the highest potential throughout the country. Vaca Muerta stands out as one of the largest hydrocarbon reservoirs on the planet. Here, we carry out challenging projects, operating with unconventional exploitation concessions in a large area and in strategic positions. La Calera is one of our major unconventional exploitation projects. Additionally, as part of a second expansion of our processing plant, we will continue to increase production. In Vaca Muerta, the Bajo del Choique La Invernada field also stands out. Located in the most prolific shale oil area of Vaca Muerta, it is a world-class asset with wells renowned for their high productivity. Plus Petrol's strategy is to gradually develop the facilities for production treatments. El Corcovo is another major field where we extract oil. At Plus Petrol, we know that creating energy is a responsibility. We work efficiently and responsibly, developing our technical and logistical expertise to contribute to the socio-economic development of communities. We are Plus Petrol. We are leaders in energy development for a sustainable future.
Thank you, Plus Petrol. And now let's go to the panel. Julián Escuder, Plus Petrol, Country Manager, Argentina. Javier Rielo, Senior VP and Country Chair, Total Energies. Felipe Bayón, CEO, GeoPark. Quintana, Carlos Giardone, CEO. And the moderator is Gabriela Aguilar, our President-elect for 2026 and 2027.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome to what I expect is going to be one of the most compelling conversations of the afternoon, aside from Horacio's videos, of course. We don't want to compete. But what we have in front of us, we have 4 executives that together represent, and they are reshaping the future of Vaca Muerta by implementing and doing different things, either by acquisitions and conventional development, cross-border capital allocation, and industry policy. So I think, and we all believe, that together they represent a cross-section of the strategies that are turning this basin, Vaca Muerta Basin, into a global energy story. So let's start, okay? Well, I would like to start with Julian, okay? Julian Pluspetrol has also been very active in the M&A front lately, the last 2 years, both acquiring and divesting. So what is the strategic logic behind these moves? And how does Pluspetrol define where it wants to be positioned as the basin matures?
Thank you, Gabi. Yes, it has been a very active 18 months. It all began with the acquisition of ExxonMobil assets in December 2024. So we found ourselves with a very large portfolio, very diverse and very large. And we wanted to be, as we always been, very careful in terms of growth, in terms of capital discipline. So we found where we want to be, and we started a series of divestments. We first sold Centenario, which was the field where we were born as an oil company in Neuquén in 1977. First to Flexus, was a Brazilian company, one of the largest Brazilian conglomerates. After that, we sold to our friends from Geopark, Loma Jarillosa Este and Puesto Silva, a very promising field that we were investing heavily before the acquisition of Exxon. But as I mentioned, we needed to focus our investments, and that was mainly in other fields, especially in Bajo del Choique. After that, we sold Los Toldos dos Oeste also to Continental, which marked the arrival of Continental, which is a great addition to our ecosystem in Argentina. And after that, Los Toldos Uno, to JP Mac, and service company from here, from Permian, that's becoming operator by this acquisition also in Argentina. And just last week, we announced the selling of our last conventional asset, Corcovo, in the provinces of Mendoza and La Pampa to Pecom. We just signed, this is yet to be closed, but we announced that last Thursday. And in the meantime, we swapped with YPF, the gas areas in the south, for a stake in La Escalonada and Rincón La Ceniza. So we've been indeed very active in this last year and a half, as I mentioned. The plan behind that was focusing on oil. We will be producing from Bajo del Choique, La Invernada, and La Escalonada, and La Calera, which is a very rich gas field. So, as I mentioned, we wanted to grow the way we've been growing in the last 50 years, very disciplined, knowing what we do and not trying to diversify that much. And that's why we've been so active in these 18 months.
Thank you, Julian. And from a very well-established, long-term established company, let's go to Carlos. Carlos, in a very short time, Quintana went from being an emerging player to establishing itself as one of the fastest growing operations in Argentina's upstream. So largely through a very active strategy of acquiring a strategic asset. So could you walk us through what was that strategy? How was it designed? What criteria was used to define the opportunities? This is very important to share when thinking here together and to be a leading role in a benchmark to other players who would like to invest in Argentina.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being here and inviting me. I would say that the motivation was to avoid to go broke, actually. It was in the middle of the pandemic. Many of you know that I also own another company, which is a reservoir engineering and production engineering firm in Argentina, a 20 guys shop with geologists and geophysicists and reservoir engineers. And during the pandemic, it was a disaster. You know, the oil price was going down to zero, and the phones were only ringing just to receive contract terminations from all the operators. So, it was a difficult time. So we decided, well, we could look at the glass half empty or half full. So we decided, well, it's a good moment to probably start acquiring companies or assets. So I called some of my graduates from petroleum engineering school, you know, from IDVA, and I asked them, hey guys, do you want to become, to convert your dream into become real oil men? Now it's the opportunity. So let's get together and put all our money into the business, and this is the moment. So we identified two potential targets at that moment, and one was a company, a US company that had come to Argentina in 1992. It was very successful, drilling in the southern part of Argentina, which was Quintana. And it happened that in my early young days, I worked for that company. So I was still in contact with the owners, the Corby Robertson family from here, from Texas. So we made them an offer, and they accepted. Unfortunately, in 2011, they came to Argentina again. They had a discovery. They invested heavily in Argentina, but due to the bad political decisions of the country, they were not being able to continue that development, which is in the province of Santa Cruz. So we were able to acquire the company with that early stage development. We drilled 6 more wells with the only finance that it was at that time from Trafigura, our off-taker, and we were able to book 15 million barrels. And that's how basically we started. But let me tell you one of the key issues, and to me one of the most important decisions that we made. It was we gave the opportunity to our young engineers and young geologists to buy shares at the same price that we were buying. Okay, so basically we didn't have workers or collaborators. We convert them into owners, okay? So I could say that those guys have worked their ass off, really extremely, analyzing all the opportunities in the market. We heard in 2023, we heard for the first time about the Andes process that was going to come. So I put all the staff to start studying all the assets from YPF, and they had to comply with three unique characteristics. One was that they should have potential reserves. The second one, it had to have midstream capacity, and the third one, it has to have a potential upside from unconventional. Okay, so we identified first Estación Fernández Oro, which has a lot of potential. It's a field with 1.3 TCF of gas in place that has only produced so far 400 BCF. So it still has a lot of remaining gas potential there. And the proof of it is we just finished our first workover campaign, and we're putting the wells in production, and we're having great success with them. The second cluster that we participated and we ended up acquiring was Mendoza Sur. Mendoza Sur comprises 6 licenses, both Chihuidos, El Portón, Cañadón Amarillo, and Altiplanicie del Payún. Just to give you an idea, Altiplanicie del Payún has 1,000 square kilometers. It's larger than the city of Buenos Aires. It's huge, okay? So it has infrastructure in place because it has oil pipeline, it has gas plants, it has the potential to become a storage facility, of gas storage facility. and which was one of our main strategies to identify what it had happened in the Permian before, that there's until Horacio's LNG project arrives, there's going to be a clog of gas, associated gas from the oil producers. So we identified that as a potential storage facility. And it also had potential in Vaca Muerta. When I looked initially at all the maps from Vaca Muerta, all of them were cut at the river, at the Rio Colorado River. None of them were showing the potential of Vaca Muerta. And when Ross was mentioning that the borders of Vaca Muerta will grow, I am completely sure of that. Vaca Muerta is deposited all the way up to Malargüe, so we are just grasping the very initial part of Vaca Muerta. So in a nutshell, that was our full strategy.
Thank you. Very, very interesting. And I would like to shift to Felipe, because Felipe comes to this panel with representing GeoPark, which has a very particular perspective because it's a New York listed company focused in Latin America with a proven capital discipline right in Colombia. So now we have you have the own operation in Vaca Muerta. So it's very remarkable. So from that perspective, what changes in the investment thesis for the basis when it starts attracting independent operators with a return-focused mindset like GeoPark?
Thanks, Gavi, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. First thing I'd say is that what we've found in Argentina is a very, or an environment where companies actually collaborate. And one of the big reasons we're in Argentina is, as Julian was saying, is because of Pluspetrol. When we did the purchase or the acquisition of two areas, the process was seamless. And one of the things that struck me is that we were able to sign and close in just 21 days. So it was very, very efficient in terms of the ability to get on the ground and start operating. We started with some workovers, and as a matter of fact, only 6 months into the operation, we've already drilled 3 horizontal sections. So we'd be able to frack in the next couple of months. And I think that the ability to increase production, increase revenues, and back, Ross, to some of the things you were discussing at Horacio in terms of efficiencies and how do we get the lifting cost down, how do we get the cost per well from $13-14 million to 5 or 6 or 7. It's the ability of the, I think, the ecosystem and the industry working together. And again, the reason why we've been able to drill so quickly is because we were able to get a rig with the crews and with 40+ contracts that came with the rig. And the rig came from Total, Javier. So it's everybody in the panel actually has had something to do with our ability to land in a way that's made a lot of sense. For us as GeoPark, a company that was actually created in Argentina, in Santa Cruz, 23 years ago, it's great to be back. Even after some setbacks, the company had to go or had tried to go into the unconventional space. It didn't work. We were not able to close that opportunity. But then very quickly on, with the help of Pluspetrol and the province, we were able to land the opportunities. And one of the things that I'd like to pick on from Carlos, you were saying making your employees owners. Every employee at GeoPark is a shareholder as well. And that's something that I think creates this, the opportunity for people to feel things differently and approach things differently. And back to Horacio, it's the passion of the people that makes the difference. So we're very happy with Vaca Muerta. We're very happy with how it's going. We've committed some $600 million for the next 3 years, and it's over $1 billion in the investment in terms of capex, and taking production for 1,500 or from 1,500 barrels a day to 20,000. It's an important sort of area of development for us. It creates diversification in terms of geography. Colombia is not necessarily that stable these days. We're going into elections this month, at the end of the month. Eventually, at some stage, we'd like to bring the expertise from the unconventional development from Argentina back to Colombia.
And Javier, you have a very specific situation in the sense that you represent at the intersection of the industry and policy, and you have a global position as well. So given everything that now is currently being debated at the international level as energy transition, commodity cycles, geopolitical realignment, so what can you say about Argentina's upstream industry going forward? What if you have to say anything to this room that would like to invest in Argentina? What do you think is the upsize? What's your, based on your experience, now that you have a global role?
Bon, easy question to answer in 5 minutes. No, well, I think that what is really showing what you can do in Argentina is what we did. So we spent almost 50 years in the country. So we went to the offshore. We were the first one to explore in the offshore in Tierra del Fuego. Extremely difficult situation. At that time it was 1978. People here is very young, but at that time, so it was a real mess, Argentina. But finally, we went there, we explored, so 90% of successful. Yeah, that is why we went there. So it was a good celebration. But at the end of the day, so very, very successful in the offshore. So we started to develop the oil in the offshore, and then we moved to gas. So now we have 6 platforms producing gas and liquids in Tierra del Fuego. And from 78 to today, you can imagine everything that we passed, in that country. So instability, change of contracts, military governments, hyperinflation. So because we talk about 200, 300% of inflation, but at that time, so you have my age, Horacio, but we were talking about 2,000, 3,000%. So we collected salary twice a month or every week, so more or less. So at the end of the day, it's a very successful story, so we are very happy in Argentina. It is one of the biggest operations we have worldwide. We produce more than 200,000 barrels a day. Most of that is gas today. Even at the beginning was oil. And it is not only the offshore, so we moved to Neuquén in 1994. It was a very nice experience. Neuquén, so Rolo is not here, but what we can say is that in Neuquén is just the opposite that we live in the country, so at the national figure. So Neuquén was very stable, so they know what we do, the industry, so they are always there to find solutions. And we started to produce Aguada Pichana at that time, after the reconversion of one contract. So we received Aguada Pichana. We had to develop Aguada Pichana, and since the very beginning, so we developed Aguada Pichana fracking. You were partner of us at that time, so remember. So, but it was vertical wells, 2 fracks. That was we starting to develop the tight gas, tight oil. And then we moved to drill horizontal wells. I remember that the partners were very, very angry because it was very expensive at that time. But the first well, it was, I don't know, 60 days more or less to drill one well of less than 2,000 horizontal drain. But the experience was good, the learning curve was good, so we drilled that well in 2004. And then we moved to the shale. We started to drill horizontal wells in the shale in 2012. The first well we drilled in Aguada Pichana, so it's producing today. So more than 10 years producing. It's connected to the system and it's producing. So the experience is good. It is not easy. It is not an easy country, but what is good in Argentina is that for every problem that is created in Argentina, you find a solution. And that is something that is not easy to do and to find worldwide. It's not easy. Sometimes when there is something that doesn't work, so there is a break. In Argentina, it is difficult to write to a break. So there is always a possibility to to find solutions, to negotiate, and every time you negotiate, you get better conditions. So problems are welcome.
Well, we have only 5 minutes left. I'll stay the rest of the afternoon. Very sad. So I want to make a question to the four of you, because now we have a different environment. We have the RIGI as well that some of you also filed. So I'd like to hear from you what you see next, what you expect the Vaca Muerta will be developed, and what to say to investors.
Okay, I believe that it will be more companies coming to the country. In fact, the experience we had with the divestments that we mentioned before were all very, very competitive processes with a lot of interest from companies, not only from Argentina, but from the US and other parts of the world. So I think that there will be more companies coming down to Argentina. The RIGI is creating the right conditions. I mean, and it's a joint effort, as Horacio mentioned before, by the national government, the provinces, and the companies to make it happen. It is a strong regime, and I believe that that's what we will see, an enhancement and things coming more rapidly in the coming years.
And just a question to add, but I would like to hear what type of companies, because here we think about operators, but the whole chain will be needed, not just operators.
No, service companies, midstreamers. The midstream area is something in Argentina is not yet so fully developed as it is in the US, for example. The example of BMOS, the pipeline, the oil pipeline, which is a great effort by all of the main companies in the country. It was a great experience, but we had to do it ourselves. It would have been better if another company would have taken the risk, and we would have a ship or pay contract and another company building that pipeline. These sort of investments are the ones that are great for welcoming into the Argentinian ecosystem.
And there's not only the RIGI, but also the RIMI, no? For projects.
For all size companies, yes.
Correct. Carlos?
Well, in our case, our next step will be Vaca Muerta. We're going to be, well, our original plan was to shoot seismic in Mendoza this year and drill the first well next year and the second horizontal well in 2028. That was our commitment with the province of Mendoza. We had such a great support from the province of Mendoza, and thank God the oil prices are also helping. So we are advancing our investments, and we're going to be drilling Vaca Muerta at the end of this year, our first well. So, and we're planning probably the second well at the beginning of next year. We're going to utilize a drilling rig and a frac fleet that Horacio is bringing to Mendoza. Together, we're going to be drilling the first wells in Cañadón Amarillo. In Cañadón Amarillo, we have more than 150,000 acres of Vaca Muerta. If these wells are successful, it opens up for the North Hub that Horacio was mentioning. It's going to explode because we have Continental, we have Plus Petrol, we have Tech Petrol. So as I said before, the borders, the limits of Vaca Muerta will start moving north incredibly. So for us, it's another league. In 1 year, we did 3 takeovers. We did Estación Fernández Oro, we did Mendoza, and we also acquired a field from Santa Cruz, which is a very large field producing 7,000 barrels of oil per day. So we did all that in 1 year. So now I am putting more pressure on my guys so they have to be drilling at the end of the year. So and I would like to remark the extremely good human resources we have in Argentina. It's unique. It's amazing. The kind of engineers, geologists, geosciences that we have, it's what it makes Argentina absolutely incredible.
Thanks. I'd probably say that when you look at Argentina from the outside, you see that all the conditions are given in Argentina to be successful. And I remember back in 2009, Buenos Aires hosted the Gas World Conference. And the conversation from the US producers and the US industry was, how quickly can we build LNG import terminals in the US? 2009. Yeah. And now the US is exporting a lot of gas to the world. I think Argentina had to go through some very tough times when they had to shut down exports to Chile, for example, some 15, 16 years ago. Now, Argentina has taken their own destiny in their own hands. So there's alignment between the national and the provincial governments, the fact that the provinces own and manage the resources in each province, the fact that the industry is actually working together. There's great talent, Carlos, I fully agree. There's a lot of people from Argentina in our company. So I think when you look at the potential and what actually has been delivered to date, there's a lot of opportunity. How do we ensure that we get the cost down, the lifting cost down? We're more efficient. We can generate the cash flows and ensure that hopefully Argentina surpasses in many of the metrics the Permian. And I'll close with this. I had the opportunity of building a business in the Permian, 2019, with Oxy. So Vicky Holub, the CEO who's now leaving, and we created a JV. And in 4 years, we went from no production, 0 barrels per day, to 160,000 barrels per day. It's doable. And it's around the rock. It's about the rock. The rock's there in Argentina, the talent's there, the conditions, and there. Rigi, a great example of ensuring that people can look towards 20, 30 years out and say conditions will be guaranteed and will be respected. So I think, Gabi, all the conditions are there in Argentina to make this even a bigger success.
Thank you, Felipe. Javier, the last but not least.
Yeah, thank you. No, in fact, Rig is okay. You can put the name you want to any plan. When you want to motivate people to come to the country and to invest big money, so yes, you need to give incentives because you are fighting against other countries, so the investor has to choose. And today there are a lot of possibilities. So to me, Rig is okay, fine. But it is necessary, it is essential for the investments Argentina needs. But to me, the most important is stability. At the level of the companies like Total Energy, so we want to put in a model, in an economic model, the conditions and to press the button enter and you will see the results and then you will decide you invest, no invest, Rigi, no Rigi, Rigi 2 or plus, etc. But we need the conditions respected. So the effort that the government is doing today is impressive, great, fantastic. I can tell you that everyone worldwide is talking about what this government is doing in Argentina, so what they did in these 3 years. We need this way continues. No, because if not, okay, so the trust will not be constructed, and the country needs all of you. The country needs all the jail players, but the country needs big wallets to go there and to invest billions and billions of dollars. Because if not, the growth will be very, very marginal or not what the country needs. So what we need is the revolution that happened in the US, so with the geometrical growth. And for that, we need to convince the people that we are reliable. The government is doing things very good, and we are expecting that things will continue.
I would say that it's not only what Argentina needs, but the world needs, no? Under these new geopolitics and.
If you want, so I can tell you that we are discussing internally. It's secret, but But yeah, we are looking different geographies to see. Okay, so this what is happening in Middle East was not. We make every year so analysis of risk worldwide. So we put an army of people evaluating and seeing what the risks associated to our activity are. At the end of the day, so in Middle East. No one saw it, it happened, and today we are looking at, okay, so what will be the destination of investments in 2030? Because the investment in Middle East will be affected, for sure. So Argentina has a very competitive advantage, yes. So, but again, we need stability.
Well, thank you. I think it is a unique opportunity for Argentina, no? Because under the new geopolitics, energy security, diversification of risk, Vaca Muerta is not longer a story of potential, but it's a story about execution. Thank you very much.
Well, we continue with the program. First of all, thank you very much. It was an amazing panel about why and how invest in Argentina. And now we move from the field operators and service scaling Vaca Muerta. And first we have a video from Duralight, one of our main sponsors. Thank you, Duralight. And now let's follow with the next panel. So we invite Javier Iguacel, CEO Ventia, Nicolás Siperovich, CEO San Antonio, Patricio Whitney, SLV Managing Director, Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile, and our moderator, Sebastián Borgarello, SP Global Energy, Global Head of Energy Consulting Group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so we will continue with the conversation. I think we have a great panel.
I think that in this video summit, we have a video. Why it's not running?
Yeah, I think it will run.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll basically continue first with the conversation. And
I want to win the Oscar.
Well, why don't we go with the video then? So is the video ready from Ventia?
No, it's okay.
In Patagonia, Argentina, the land never sleeps. It breathes, And in that pulse, there is energy. We've learned how to listen to it. We are Bentia Energy, an Argentine company built by Argentines, but above all, built by people. People who are out there, who know the terrain, who know how to get it done. Proud to produce on our land. We are at the heart of Vaca Muerta, home to one of the most important shale formations outside the United States. With operations across 7 strategic areas, our own infrastructure, and direct access to key markets. We operate our own facilities, crude oil treatment plants, loading and metering units, and we are fully connected to the basin's main takeaway infrastructure. We don't choose the easiest assets. We choose the ones that demand engineering, precision, and cost discipline. When geology becomes more complex, the answer is innovation. Lowering costs, optimizing every well, applying technology, that's our model. Where others saw underperformance, we are generating development through technique and efficiency. Leveraging new technologies, real-time data, artificial intelligence. To do it better, with precision, with purpose. Because producing is not enough. We aim to go further. We are ready to develop the full unconventional potential beneath us. To create value, to think beyond, to drive something bigger. To turn it into development, into opportunity, into growth. Developing what's difficult, it's not the exception. It's our model. And that's where we create value. Bentia Energy. This is where energy is produced. This is where the future is.
Thank you for the video. We'll vote for the Oscars at the end.
At least in the term.
Yeah, so why don't we actually continue the conversation from the operator's point of view first, and then we're going to go to the service companies. And we have here two of the leaders in Argentina. So can you tell us more about Bentia, why you created Bentia and how it was created?
Well, as Carlos said, it was because a mistake in my path through the life. I am a petroleum engineer. I've been in business for 25 years. I spent most of them with Plus Petrol. I've been working with Julian a long time, and Nico also. We were in the same desk at our very beginning. And one day I slept the whole night and wake up and said, I have to do something for my country. And in 2014, I decided to quit for 2015 to quit Plus Petrol and to run into the public sector and run for mayor at my own home city. I lost that election, but after that, Mr. Macri invited me to participate in his team. I spent there a couple of years. I was the energy ministry, so I came back a little time again to the energy. That's when I was foreseen as Vaca Muerta as the second turbine of the plane. I'm a farmer by myself. My father is a farmer. My mother is a physician. I was born in a very small farm, and always everybody was asking the farmers to save the country. And we need another safety turbine. And I understood that Vaca Muerta could be. And I went again to run for mayor. I won that election. And when I complete my term, I tried to go for governor. But didn't work. So now I'm here. We formed Bentia. Now, no joking, we really believe on this second turbine. We understand that the big companies don't have or can't have focus on the small fields. And when we saw the opportunity to arrive and build an oil company in a good old conventional assets that can be efficiently work. In fact, we reduce cost by half in 1 year. We increase oil production 25% and gas production 50% in 1 year at the conventional, but we really decided to took those blocks because of the unconventional. On the limits, which a lot of geological issues to understand, but we believe that we are now understanding what to do to drill and have good results. When I heard Ross saying that they are drilling 1/2 a mile near 4 miles or 1.5 miles outcrop, and they are doing fine, I say, okay, we have a ribeye. Instead, I'm always saying everybody's eating the ribeye, we are eating the bad part of the cow, but if they are drilling that with success, then we have a ribeye. So that's why. Always fine. Okay, well, don't tell me that part of the story, please. But now, that's why we formed Ventia and our beginning.
Yeah, a very, very interesting story. I can see you like challenges. And you mentioned that in the video as well, that you like things that are difficult, right? So how important is it, because when it's difficult, it's more expensive normally as well, right? So how important then is something like the Rishi to make it happen?
Very important. At these limits, we really believe that the always support of the Neuquén state that has been said here, but is a reality in Argentina, has always understand the industry and helped the industry to grow. And when the federal government was not very good, they keep calm and try to help the industry. Then now the federal government put in RIGI for the upstream is a really green light to our projects, and we believe that we can develop a couple of RIGI projects at the south of the basin, at the north of the basin. Of course, we need the correct partners, and we are trying to develop how to do it with people that knows how can help us, and we can help them to do it together, but definitely it's a must.
And to close, can you tell us more about what are your plans, how you're scaling up operations now?
Well, we are very happy with the production, and we are now planning how to develop the unconventional. So as I said, we are trying to partner companies or a couple of companies to develop this huge opportunity.
Thanks. And I'm going to switch gears now to the service companies here. As you can see, from Horacio at the beginning, pushing the need more service companies coming to the country. And operations are growing and scaling up. What do you think are the conditions that, and this question will be to both of you actually, and maybe I start with you, Patricio. What do you think are the conditions needed in Vaca Muerta to make that growth that is coming sustainable?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me here, Ariel and everyone, for pushing me to be in this panel. I think much was said. The critical thing is stability. You know, we don't like to see those swings in the country in terms of policy and things like that. So having that, it's critical. And again, we need to be competitive at the end of the day. We are not competing among ourselves, where we are somehow locally, but also we are competing with the resources and that are all around the world. I'm here surrounded by a lot of CEOs. I'm probably the only one who might have his boss sitting in the crowd. And I need to go and sell to her the need of more resources, okay? And then she has to go and sell to our company that we need to get those resources in country. So I would say that we need to have that stability in place, and RIG is playing that, okay? It's leveling us up with the rest of the world, I would say. In some manners, it's giving us that certainty in the future and that stability that the industry needs to grow.
Thanks, and Nicolas, we would like to add to that.
Okay, thank you first for inviting me. I guess I'm gonna put it on an analogy. So Vaca Muerta is like a Formula One, and we, at least my company, San Antonio, used to operate I would put it like TC, that it's a kind of a race with old cars, Falco and Dodge, kind of very old cars, where I guess they timed only the lap, and now they're timing us everything from changing the tires. And when you see a Formula One boxes and they change the tires. It's kind of, they measure absolutely everything. But the thing about the challenge here is like having this Formula One boxes changing the wheels, but having kind of a guy or 20 guys apart from the mechanics changing the tires. So one guy kind of bringing the water, the other one drinking mate. So it's a big challenge to kind of run a Formula One with a lot of external factors that make it difficult to have a perfect timing. So Horacio mentioned a lot bringing technology, AI, the data center or the control center. But when you have that, and it takes, for example, in logistics, you have only one company that does logistics in the whole basin for high-spec rigs, then it's very difficult. You can reach some amount of efficiency, but then you spend, I don't know, 30% of the well cost in moving the rigs.
Okay, I think you're hinting at some of the challenges. I would like to get a little bit deeper into those challenges. So you mentioned, I think you were hinting at the fact that there may be as well more people maybe than you need at the box, for instance. You want to elaborate more on that?
Yeah, yes. The answer is yes. And I guess we were used to, I guess there was a say that the most profitable companies were the well-run oil company, and the second best profitable companies were the worst run or badly run oil companies. That changed quite substantially with Vaca Muerta, where you need a lot of efficiency. So we were used to the former model where there were a lot of people on the rigs. So for example, in a pulling rig, we have, I don't know, 17, 18 people in a pulling rig. Well, I guess here in Permian, you have, I don't know, 4 in a pulling rig. So that's what I was saying about that. There's many more people and many more conditions that we need on a service company that we cannot be that efficient.
Yeah, that points to opportunities for improvement as well. Patricia, where do you see those opportunities for improvement?
Well, we tend to look into these challenges and translate it to opportunities. I think if we go a little bit back to the challenge today, now that we have the environment and the possibility for capital, I would say that having RIGI and this is how we execute. Today, we are pretty much copying the recipes that we see in other basins, and I think we need to start looking into what is really needed for Vaca Muerta. Yes, that helps us in being faster, as Ross said, in terms of capturing the learning curve. But now it's time to start looking into that. And I think the opportunity comes in that. So how can we better understand Vaca Muerta and what we can do in order to take more value, maximize the value of Vaca Muerta itself?
So, and what role do you think companies like SLB can play in that?
So I would say that then the role is innovation. So we need to start looking into that. And basically, we know the challenges that we have in Vaca Muerta in drilling. High temperatures, high mud weights, lots of solids, losses and things like that. So we as a service company, I think we need to be the ones who are trying to developing that. And as we speak, we are testing some of that. And hopefully soon we'll see it in being implemented in Vaca Muerta. And that is going to give the levels of consistency and predictability that we need in terms of the operation to get into the next level of efficiency.
Yeah, and I would like to understand your point of view, Nicolas. I know your company as well that drills thousands of wells. So how can you use that experience to help the operators?
Well, yes. I don't know how many people here, many are from the US. I don't know this company. This company called San Antonio has been around for 65 years. It was kind of a leading oilfield service company in Argentina, both in drilling and in oilfield services, kind of a strange kind of company. And it was mostly focused on conventional, but most of the first Vaca Muerta wells were drilled by San Antonio. The first campaign in Loma Campana, the vertical and some of the horizontals were all drilled by us. So the amount of information that we have is just amazing. And we need to to use that information together with technology to better improve that. And what we did is we have the experience. We really know the rock. We know Vaca Muerta very well because we drilled so many wells. And now we need help from external partners to bring that technology to Argentina. And that's where we partner with other companies. For example, we signed a partnership with Precision Drilling to bring that technology, and we have that local knowledge of the rock that is really important.
And on top of that, I think, do you think there is a need for a different relationship with the operators as well? I mean, do you see that evolving over time, the kind of relationship you have with the operators?
Well, absolutely. I have here Javier, and what we're doing with Javier specifically is we're sitting with them and saying, okay, what do you need? What problem do you need to solve? And we sit together with them, and we open our books, and we design the well together. We just not receive a kind of a bid. We sit with them, we open our books, and we decide what is a well together that we need to drill.
Right.
Being a family-owned company, it's very easy to do that. You don't have to bid or whatever. You know that you have to trust in the people that you trust in. We trust in Nicolas, so we are doing that. And it's very helpful to, at least on the papers, reduce significantly costs, significantly. Let's see if we can do it on the ground. But what we are now discussing are great improvements. We don't know what happens on the ground.
Okay, that will be a new model of business, really. Do you see the same thing from your point of view?
I would say my background in SLV is mostly in this sort of, I don't want to, let's call it integration models, okay? So I tend to agree in the sense that if you bring the supplier or the service company earlier to the planning, there's much we can do in trying to help you understand the challenge and what the technologies or requirements are in order to build that, even us taking risks alongside with the operator. So I truly believe that there's probably a conversation that we need to move from a more transactional relationship to one that we can create value, focusing on the outcome and on the result rather than in signing the ticket at the end of the month.
Okay. Here you have the operators in the room, so hopefully they're listening, and they're willing to do it. You mentioned, both of you, I think, mentioned technology, and I would like to get a little bit deeper on technology. What is the role of technology, particularly AI? Everybody talks about AI. I mean, in CERAWeek, a month and a half ago, almost every other person will talk about AI. And Javier, you can get started actually if you want.
Yeah, it's pretty. Nowadays, everybody's talking about AI, and I was not afraid about that, but at least try to see where you can really use it. And we are developing an agent to interpret the seismic in order not to use only attributes, which was a common way to interpret what happens on the ground floor, but also to do a complete seismic interpretation with the phase, frequency, and amplitude, doing by our own people, the geophysicists from San Juan, that are doing a great job to identify. We have blocks around the volcano, so we have of igneous rocks there, and that's why other operators will not drill there. But we really understand and foresee that localizing where these igneous rocks are, and you can apart them or not. We don't know what may happen drilling them, but let's say we go to the rebuy, you can really have a big acreage there. So we are trying to do that, and if you don't have the IA, maybe you use 3 or 4 years to do this job, and with AI you may do this in 3 months.
Oh, that's a big acceleration. But I wonder if the fact that the two of you, basically, you serve a lot of the different players, right? So you have the advantage of the scale as well by deploying technology. Can you tell us more?
In our case, if we want to go in AI, I think we have a great advantage. At least we have so many. You mentioned we have so many data points about because of drilling so many wells. The thing is putting together all that information, and what we're doing right now is first, before building anything on AI, we're just building a data lake for the whole. We just finished the data lake, so we put all the information of every single aspect of the company that it's been around for 65 years. So you know how much information and how much legacy software we have in this company. So we put together that data lake that it's running right now. It's actually geospatial, so it's geolocalized all the assets that we have. And on top of that, we're building agents that are checking information and the reliability of information, that it's really unreliable. I can tell you that. It's really hard to build reliable information. And then we will build the AI agents to work and have the native AI applications on top of those to work with every single sector of the company.
Very interesting. And Well, as SLB, you have the global scale, not just Argentina, right? So you have a total different scale to deploy technology.
But simply what Nicolas said is a real thing that we need to focus on, okay? On where that data is coming from, having that, he said, data lake, how you integrate the information. If you don't have that, yes, you can build probably an agent, but then you can scale it up, okay? So I think the key aspect of AI today, or the agents and everything that we do, is that we can scale it up. It's no point just putting in a test, I would say, environment, and when you pull it into your production environment, you have data is not linked, you have not access to certain things, and one critical thing there is cybersecurity, okay? So you need to have a space where no one can enter, and you're secure enough to be sharing information all around the place, because this will lead into what is the future of automation as well. So one thing will get to the other.
Great. We'll all be watching for those improvements, and hopefully that will lead to lower cost per barrel at the end of the day. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit here, and because I think we mentioned the conflict of the Middle East in the previous panel. That is, of course, driving, I would say, risk in the Middle East, probably diverting investment from the Middle East to other regions. You see oil prices already spiking. The conflict is not resolved. Even I was looking this week into our own my own company projections of oil prices, and we are looking at we have three scenarios, but even the lowest scenario is looking right now at $75 at the end of next year. So we are talking about elevated prices for at least the next 18 months. That probably means more activity in the U.S., and we start to see some of that. Is that a problem for Vaca Muerta?
I'll answer on the rig side, and because it's competing with us, and I listen all the time to Horacio saying the projections of the drilling rigs in Argentina, and it's amazing. But the amount of if Permian really increases the activity, that they are increasing activity right now, precision drilling is increasing the amount of rigs working here. It's going to compete, and it's going to be difficult for Argentina to get the rigs in time for the amount of activity that we are projecting, at least.
Okay, so they're going to get higher prices, but they may not get the equipment.
It's going to be supply and demand.
Patricio, you were mentioning as well that you need to fight with your boss is here to get the resources in Argentina. Will this be a potential challenge?
Well, it is, and we know that all of these issues in the Middle East are impacting logistics and things like that. So we'll, at some point, hit what we have in Argentina. And again, in our contracts we have, this is not the first rodeo in terms of moving parts in Argentina, where at the end of the day, it's a cycle. We will manage it, and the contracts are managing it with formulas that will adapt to that. So yes, there are things coming. We will need to focus on that and make sure that we, at least our focus is delivering. Okay, so making sure that we deliver what we need to.
Yeah, how do you see it?
I would like to change the optic of the question. I would say that it's a very tough moment to build an oil company, because if you do it in a $100 barrel, it's easy to waste money. So we are always thinking that the price is $50, not 100. And we have to develop providers and services company that will accompany us at the $50, $60 per barrel. And this is a complete mindset, different mindset. That is what we are having in mind in order to be sustainable in the future and not just taking or picking up huge or big prices.
Well, thank you very much, all of you, for bringing your perspective. I think this is very enriching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for this insight. And something to highlight also is, I think that Nicolas said about the partnership between service providers in Argentina and service providers here in US. And this is something that we are seeing more and more, and we invite all of you to explore opportunities, not only thinking about landing in Argentina, but also seeing who is the best partner in Argentina in order to have better business there. Having said that, now we go to the final section. We have the honor to have here the governor of Neuquén, Rolando Figueroa. And before starting, we are going to have a video of Neuquén.
In In the south of the American continent, one province is transforming its energy future, Neuquén. This is where Vaca Muerta takes shape, one of the largest shale oil and shale gas formations in the world, and Argentina's energy heartland. The province generates more than 60% of Argentina's oil and over 70% of its natural gas. Today, Vaca Muerta produces more than 610,000 barrels of oil per day and 114 million cubic meters of gas daily. An industry in full expansion. Energy development demands infrastructure. New transportation and processing systems are expanding oil and natural gas production capacity, positioning Argentina to reach new global markets. It's also reshaping connectivity. New provincial roads and strategic corridors link productive areas, cities, and industrial parks. From Neuquén, energy output reaches Atlantic ports and finds its way to the Pacific through Chile, connecting production to the world. Energy development also drives a growing network of specialized suppliers and services. Engineering, logistics, drilling, and technology companies operate across the basin every day, making the energy ecosystem more competitive, more efficient, and better prepared for the future. Energy is also built with talent. Neuquén is investing in technical and professional training through schools, universities, and specialized centers like the Instituto Tecnológico Vaca Muerta, where technicians and specialists are trained for the industry. Supporting that talent means opening doors. That's why a provincial scholarship program is expanding access to education for young people from Neuquén across a wide range of disciplines. Energy growth also drives community development. Housing, urban infrastructure, schools, and hospitals advance alongside the industry's expansion. With more than 100 years of energy history, Neuquén has built a path grounded in public-private collaboration, generating the predictability and conditions that long-term investment requires. Vaca Muerta is one of the world's great energy resources. But what makes its development possible is the ecosystem behind it. Infrastructure, industry, talent. Neuquén. Energy for Argentina. Energy for the world.
Bueno, esta sección va a ser en español, así que un gusto y honor tenerlo aquí en Houston, gobernador. Gracias por su presencia. Lo único que quiero decir, yo soy de Rosario, trabajo en la industria petrolera hace 30 años y la primera vez que fui a Neuquén fue hace 30 años atrás. Y fui mucho con YPF, después fui con Oxy y después tuve la suerte de ir por la Cámara. Y la transformación que ha tenido Neuquén es increíble. Hoy la provincia con mayor crecimiento de PBI a nivel nacional y estamos viendo que todo eso se está transformando también en mejoras para la gente y para las regiones. Así que habiendo eso hecho, siendo que no soy con el neuquino, me siento orgulloso también de que esto pase. Entonces, los primeros puntos es con respecto a la visión del sector y el horizonte, los logros, desafíos y oportunidades. Gobernador, como estuvimos hablando, Neuquén y Texas comparten el ADN energético muy similar. Para comenzar este diálogo nos gustaría que nos comparta una visión sobre el momento actual de la provincia. ¿Cuáles siente usted que son los hitos más gratificantes de este último año y cómo se visualiza el papel de Neuquén en el mapa energético global para los próximos años?
Bueno, buenas tardes a todos. Buenas tardes, Ariel. Un gusto, gracias por invitarnos a poder acompañarlos en esta jornada tan importante. Primero y principal, yo les quiero decir por qué estoy acá. Yo estoy acá porque me importa el neuquino y porque me importa Neuquén, ¿no? Siempre lo aclaro porque con la industria tenemos objetivos, los mismos objetivos, ¿no? Queremos que nos vaya bien, pero con distintos rangos de beneficios, ¿no? La industria quiere ganar plata, nosotros queremos que el neuquino viva mejor, ¿no? Y no son intereses contrapuestos, todo lo contrario, Eso es lo importante y lo que hemos logrado ahora, ¿no? Creo que de lo que estoy orgulloso es de los que hemos podido armar un ecosistema muy importante en Neuquén. Nosotros, desde 1918, que somos una provincia con petróleo, para que tengan noción, nosotros, los neuquinos, no podíamos elegir nuestros representantes, no podíamos elegir gobernador, no podíamos elegir nuestro presidente y ya producíamos gas y petróleo, ¿no? Todo este camino recorrido que nos hace ver que una provincia naciente, una provincia con personalidad, se pudo adecuar rápidamente a lo que estaba ocurriendo a nivel nacional, ¿no? Horacio, cuando expuso, tomó una frase que Javier Iguacel había dicho hace algún tiempo, que es como que la Argentina ha tenido distintas turbinas, ¿no? Neuquén siempre fue el motor. Lo que nos faltaba es alinear absolutamente todo para poder tener un buen plan de vuelo. Entonces, ¿qué ha sucedido ahora y de lo que estamos muy orgullosos, ¿no? Primero, el ecosistema se termina armando con el Estado Nacional, ¿no? El Estado Nacional, la primera medida que tomó inteligente, que la hemos trabajado en conjunto, fue el capítulo de la ley, de la nueva ley de hidrocarburos, que fue parte de la ley bases. Es el hito número 1 que el Estado Nacional hizo en forma asertiva y fue un trabajo que realizó principalmente con la provincia del Neuquén, ¿no? Fuimos muy tenidos en cuenta para esa redacción. Es muy importante tener la normativa y la seguridad jurídica, ¿no? Segundo paso muy importante del Estado Nacional fue, por supuesto, tratar de equilibrar la macro y de hecho tenemos una previsibilidad, tenemos una macro más estable. Los valores que hemos tenido de nuestros recursos han sido los valores corrientes, con lo cual eso no solo favorece a las operadoras, sino favorece a todo el ecosistema, favorece también a la provincia. Y un tercer punto muy importante que es el RIGI, el régimen para grandes inversiones, es fundamental para nosotros. Y esto también está bueno decirlo y explicarlo muchas veces, ¿no? Los detractores del RIGI dicen que el Estado pierde recursos, ¿no? Y es una mirada muy corta de a dónde se apunta todo esto. Nosotros cuantificamos, por ejemplo, los 3 últimos RIGI que se han presentado de 3 operadoras importantes, ¿no? Y cuantificamos que la provincia del Neuquén, ¿no? Por las inversiones que se van a desarrollar, pierde en los próximos 4 años, pierde $3,5 millones de coparticipación del impuesto a las ganancias, 3,5 millones. Ahora, lo que genera poner todo eso en funcionamiento le va a inyectar a la provincia del Neuquén en los próximos 4 años $1.000 millones. Entonces, la verdad que esta acción que la hemos trabajado con el Ministerio de Economía, específicamente con el ministro Caputo, que hemos sido escuchados por el presidente, la verdad que es una medida muy asertiva porque ha acelerado las inversiones y nosotros tenemos un tiempo acotado para poder monetizar el subsuelo, ¿no? Ahora, ¿qué es lo importante que también se ha construido? Que toda esta monetización del subsuelo tiene que generar una redistribución y tiene que generar un derrame en todo el neuquino, ¿no? Y esto para nosotros es muy importante porque eso lo que nos permite es construir sustentabilidad social, ¿no? Esa sustentabilidad social, ¿cómo se gana y cómo existe el derrame? Estamos primero en generación de empleo, las empresas son donde más han crecido en la República Argentina, estamos primero en el índice de venta en los supermercados, estamos primero en el índice de la construcción. Somos la provincia que más invierte por obra pública per cápita. En valores absolutos somos la 4ª del país, con el 1,5% de la población, ¿no? Estamos reinvirtiendo en escuelas, 85.000 metros cuadrados de escuelas, 30.000 metros cuadrados de hospitales. Estamos invirtiendo en seguridad, estamos llegando con servicios en zona donde para nosotros era fundamental. Nos está acompañando el intendente de Añelo, acá, ¿no? El intendente de Añelo no tenía gas en su localidad y nosotros le vendíamos gas al mundo. Entonces la sustentabilidad social de las personas que viven donde se genera todos los días la riqueza para poder generar que la Argentina crezca, el vecino no tenía gas. Entonces ahí trabajamos y estamos con YPF y hemos llegado con un gasoducto. Lo mismo estamos haciendo con Rincón de los Sauces y también lo hicimos con la zona norte. Estamos haciendo lo que no se ha hecho en muchos años en la construcción de infraestructura. Por ejemplo, en toda la historia de nuestra provincia se realizaron 1.150 kilómetros de asfalto. Nosotros estamos repavimentando la mitad de todas esas rutas, pero a su vez estamos haciendo 850 nuevos kilómetros de pavimento, porque estamos redistribuyendo la riqueza y estamos monetizando lo que nos genera la industria y estamos incentivando el turismo, estamos incentivando la producción, ¿no? Por eso el ecosistema es lo que nosotros terminamos valorando, ¿no? Y acá un tema fundamental que fue cuando arrancamos con las operadoras, ¿qué le dijimos que nosotros queríamos? Eran 4 cosas. Primero y principal, ustedes vieron en el video, es becas de estudio para las distintas generaciones que vienen de neuquinos. Cuando se termine el gas y petróleo, nosotros vamos a tener generaciones educadas con los fondos de la industria. Es fundamental. Por eso es fundamental que incluso esto llegue a cada uno de los rincones de la provincia, porque a lo mejor el mejor ingeniero hoy vive en una comunidad mapuche en la cordillera, y si nosotros los incentivamos y le igualamos la línea de partida, a lo mejor vamos a tener el mejor ingeniero. A lo mejor Halliburton tiene el mejor ingeniero. Entonces, le digo esto a Halliburton porque no aportan para las becas, por eso le digo a Patricio. Schlumberger, Halliburton, perdón Patricio, Schlumberger, Halliburton y las empresas de servicios. Está bien, pero no aporta ninguna de las empresas de servicios para formar sus profesionales, ¿no? Y nosotros sí les vamos a pedir que aporten, ¿no? Eso es importante. El Estado trabajando para que la población viva mejor, ¿no? Segundo punto para nosotros muy importante es formar la mano de obra para que los neuquinos puedan tener trabajo, ¿no? Porque muchos hablamos de vaca muerta. Vaca muerta, como ustedes saben, es solo una roca. El ecosistema es lo que lo hace funcionar, ¿no? Entonces, es muy importante la formación del Instituto Vaca Muerta, lo que han hecho las operadoras, con Horacio siempre poniendo primera. Yo si hay algo que le valoro a Horacio Marín, es que siempre pone primera. Incluso ponía primera en temas que muchos decían, no va a andar. El GNL en la Argentina no va a andar, decían muchos. Y la verdad que ahora todos están haciendo cola para poder sumarse, ¿no? Entonces, eso es muy importante. Por otro lado, esa formación que estamos haciendo en el Instituto Vaca Muerta, ¿qué nos va a permitir? Que no van a poder ir las empresas y decir, no tomamos gente de Neuquén porque no están preparadas. Estamos preparando a la gente para que sean los primeros que puedan tomar trabajo. ¿Y por qué sucede esto? Porque el año pasado migraron 21.000 nuevos neuquinos hacia Neuquén. Y el otro año anterior fueron otro tanto. Entonces, por año nosotros estamos recibiendo 4.000 chicos en edad escolar de hijos de migrantes, que tenemos que hacer 160 aulas por año para que los hijos de migrantes puedan tener educación, ¿no? Otro punto muy importante y que ha sido la primera vez en la historia, y es la primera industria que lo logra, que ha sido poder firmar que la infraestructura la realizamos con un esfuerzo compartido, ¿no? Estamos haciendo toda la infraestructura de Vaca Muerta, estamos realizando las obras que son necesarias para poder ser competitivos, la estamos realizando en equipo con la industria, ¿no? Es un punto muy importante para nosotros. Nosotros tenemos, al igual que la industria, la premisa de poder ser competitivos. ¿Cuándo nos va bien? Cuando somos competitivos, cuando la industria gana recursos, eso nos permite inyectar esos recursos en la transformación de nuestra provincia, ¿no? Y un cuarto punto que no es menor es que nosotros tenemos que acompañar a las empresas locales. Acá nos acompañan las empresas neuquinas. Para nosotros, todas las empresas neuquinas es muy importante que sirvan de plataforma de llegada de otras empresas. Es muy importante que las contraten. Por eso todas las empresas tienen distintos programas para poder formar a nuestros proveedores, ¿no? A los proveedores que están todo el año en Neuquén. Y así el último año pudimos incrementar 20% la participación de los proveedores locales en toda la industria. Entonces, si vos me preguntás, Ariel, ¿de qué estamos orgullosos? Es que hemos construido entre todos los actores la posibilidad de que a partir de una roca generar el ecosistema para poder ser exitoso. Y están todos los actores involucrados. Y voy a atreverme a hablar con mucho respeto de algo que fue fundamental para nosotros, que fue el trabajo con la vecina provincia de Río Negro. El hub exportador se está armando en la provincia de Río Negro. Alberto Breltignek me pidió, por razones de agenda, no pudo viajar, me pidió que le transmita un saludo y que está muy comprometido con la industria. La visión de Alberto Breltignek a nosotros nos permite tener el hub exportador en la Patagonia. salir con GNL o salir con petróleo desde la Patagonia para nosotros tiene un diferencial, es muy importante y eso fue la mirada de Alberto. Entonces creo que esas 4 razones, más el agregado que entre 2 estados podemos trabajar en equipo, somos las provincias que estamos creciendo porque hemos interpretado cuáles eran las medidas económicas, pedimos cuáles eran las más adecuadas para nuestras provincias y no nos pusimos a discutir acerca de la política nacional. Pusimos el viento de cola para que a nuestra provincia y a nuestra gente les vaya mejor. Por supuesto que falta un camino a recorrer, siempre nos falta un camino a recorrer, pero estamos con el camino, estamos convencidos que es el indicado, que es el correcto, ¿no? Entonces, disculpame Ariel, pero de todo esto creo que es lo diferencial, de que todos los actores nos hemos podido alinear en que esto sea exitoso, ¿no?
Gracias. Sí, indudablemente eso creo que se nota el cambio total en los últimos 3 años. Creo que he participado en muchos eventos, vi como en los últimos 3 años el gobierno nacional, el gobierno provincial, los intendentes y la industria se ha alineado en este gran sueño que tiene Argentina y eso se nota en todos los ámbitos. Así que felicitaciones por un trabajo conjunto de todos. Ahora ya pasando un poco a la competitividad. Ahora, y hablando de la sinergia y un poco de las concesiones en Vaca Muerta versus Permian. Entonces, sabemos que hay mucha expectativa por las nuevas rondas de licitación de GIP, que es la empresa provincial. Más que una competencia, muchos ven ahí a Vaca Muerta como el espejo de Permian el Sur. ¿Cómo han diseñado su equipo estas nuevas oportunidades para que sean atractivas, complementarias, para que las empresas que ya operan con éxito en Estados Unidos vayan a Vaca Muerta?
Creo que es muy importante el cambio de paradigma que existió hace algunos años, ¿no? Y que nos permitió poder volar hacia otra escala, ¿no? Nosotros hace años teníamos el paradigma de la escasez, ¿no? Cuando no teníamos la posibilidad de extraer de los yacimientos no convencionales. Entonces los argentinos, ¿qué decíamos? Cuidemos porque se nos va a terminar el gas, que el gas sea nuestro. Esa mirada cambió totalmente. Hoy nosotros tenemos solo de la roca Vaca Muerta en Neuquén, tenemos para ofrecerle al mundo lo que la Argentina va a consumir en los próximos 30 años multiplicado por 6. Solo en la roca, en la formación Vaca Muerta. Nos quedan los molles, que debe tener alrededor de un 60% de lo que tiene Vaca Muerta. Nos queda la roca Quintuco, que también tiene, por supuesto, también gas y petróleo. Entonces, creo que tenemos todo para poder transitar y poder generar que el mundo nos mire, ¿no? Las licitaciones para nosotros son muy importantes y es muy importante que lleguen otras empresas que saben, otras empresas que nos pueden hacer más competitivos. Ahora los servicios han bajado los valores, nosotros teníamos valor un poco alto en la prestación de servicios a las operadoras. Nosotros creemos que con la llegada de Continental nos va a permitir a nosotros que lleguen más empresas de servicios y eso va a producir más competitividad y vamos a ser aún más eficientes. Para nosotros la eficiencia, repito, es fundamental. Estamos trabajando y colaborando con la industria para que esto pueda suceder. Y el día... nosotros estamos abriendo ahora, ya se pueden informar y pueden presentar por distintas áreas. Vamos a tener 15 áreas, vamos a sacar a licitación con nuestra empresa GIP, que se va a abrir o vamos a determinar quiénes son los ganadores a las 15 horas del día 19 de agosto. Estamos invitando a que todos puedan participar en un proceso de ofertas para que se puedan asentar también en poder agregarse otras compañías también a Vaca Muerta, ¿no? Entonces, creemos que es fundamental la seguridad jurídica en esto también. Neuquén, como les decía, es una provincia que tiene mucho aprendizaje con la industria y la seguridad jurídica ha sido lo que siempre nos ha distinguido. Nosotros hemos mantenido la política de Estado que hemos tenido en la oil and gas, incluso el año pasado hemos reformado el Código Civil y Comercial de Procedimiento Civil y Comercial de la provincia. Entra en vigencia a partir del 1 de agosto y tenemos un Código Adversarial Civil que nos va a posibilitar también que la industria se pueda desenvolver de mejor manera. Incluso hemos tomado para los acuerdos la teoría monista, con lo cual entre las partes van a poder fijar qué país va a resolver o se van a poder someter en arbitraje. Eso también va en un todo de acuerdo para poder atraer distintos inversores del mundo, ¿no?
Otro tema que es súper importante es el tema del futuro del GNL y la seguridad de inversión. Sabemos que estuvieron trabajando en eso. El anuncio sobre el esquema de regalías de GNL ha sido recibido con mucho interés, como una señal de previsibilidad. ¿Podrías contarnos más sobre este marco, cómo busca facilitar esos grandes proyectos de exportación y qué pasos imaginás que vienen a partir de ahora?
Bueno, creo que ahora ya el trabajo, además de Añelo, además de Rincón de los Sauces, se agrega el trabajo en Plaza Winkle, que también nos acompaña el intendente de Plaza Winkle. Es muy importante que desde los municipios se pueda construir toda esta mirada para poder llegar a un GNL totalmente competitivo. Le hemos adjudicado 3 áreas a YPF, que seguramente las va a utilizar para la producción de GNL. Estamos en todo un proceso de negociación en este sentido, que hemos avanzado muchísimo y queremos los próximos días poder culminar este acuerdo y poder enviarlo a la legislatura. Estamos convencidos que tenemos que facilitar y darle herramientas a la industria para que pueda ser muy competitivo el GNL de la Argentina. Recién escuchaba la exposición de Güey cuando Bárbara le hacía determinadas preguntas. No se puede comparar lo de Estados Unidos con Argentina porque son cosas totalmente diferentes. El derecho es diferente, el derecho de propiedad del subsuelo es diferente. También las regalías, que ustedes saben que es diferente, en Argentina son mucho menos. Nosotros estamos adecuando un sistema tributario para ser competitivo y estamos convencidos que también las regalías en la producción del metano, que es de donde surge el GNL, también tiene que tener un tratamiento diferencial. Y estamos convencidos que es la ventana que se le va a abrir a la Argentina después de poder generar todo un proceso en donde la sustentabilidad social se le dio a todo el país, no solo a Neuquén, ¿no? Porque abastecer con gas todo Neuquén, abastecer con gas la Argentina con un proceso de sustitución de importaciones que hemos visto, poder llenar los distintos caños con la caída de otras cuencas de gas y poder llenarlos con gas de vaca muerta, hoy ya nos permite mirar el GNL como la salida de la productividad marginal que nosotros estamos convencidos que tenemos que lograr. Y por eso también aplaudo este trabajo en conjunto que estamos haciendo con la provincia de Río Negro, porque también en tiempo récord la provincia de Río Negro ha obtenido todos los permisos para poder salir con este hub exportador patagónico. Así que estamos convencidos que debemos colaborar con la industria para que esto pueda ser exitoso. Nosotros sabemos, como decía Güey, que es muy probable que tengamos que competir en algunos mercados con los Estados Unidos en precio, ¿no? Pero también estamos convencidos que esta realidad del mundo actual, lo que más valora es la seguridad energética, la seguridad de provisión, y eso lo vamos a tener en Neuquén, lo vamos a tener en la Argentina. Y además no es solo una zona libre de conflictos, sino que es muy importante que hemos logrado una zona con paz social. La paz social nos permite trabajar de otra manera y esa paz social estamos convencidos que también va a contribuir a poder ser más competitivos, ¿no?
Totalmente. Un tema que quiero destacar con respecto a cómo evolucionó Argentina en los últimos años, no solamente la alineación del gobierno nacional, las empresas, etcétera, sino que se vio un giro enorme en cómo encarar los problemas. Tradicionalmente resolver los problemas internamente, pero la visión de toda la industria y también del gobierno están continuamente haciendo benchmark con respecto a cómo podemos hacer para que ese sueño que es Vaca Muerta realmente se concrete, se está concretando en el día a día. Así que todo lo que tengan la invitación a todos es que sean parte de esto, que puedan colaborar, porque todo el tiempo la industria está mirando afuera y ustedes son los que pueden traer eso. La última pregunta es, bueno, estamos acá con todas las empresas americanas, entonces te queríamos invitar para cerrar en este marco de camaradería que hay en Houston. Después va a haber un networking event donde espero que todos puedan aprovecharlo para seguir conociendo y haciendo negocios. ¿Qué mensaje de bienvenida ya? Porque ya creo que vienen todos a Vaca Muerta después de esto. Le daría a los directivos que hoy miran a Neuquén no solo como un destino de inversión, sino como un lugar para desarrollar vínculos de largo plazo y prosperidad.
Estamos convencidos que el camino que se ha trazado ha sido el correcto. Se ha probado que la roca es primera clase a nivel mundial. Se ha probado que estamos trabajando todos para poder lograr lo que nosotros pretendemos. Estamos llegando con un precio muy competitivo también. Se ha armado un sistema resiliente, ¿no? En donde estamos convencidos que vamos a crecer. Opar, que también está acá, que fue la última empresa extranjera que ha ingresado. Estamos trabajando muy bien con ellos, están invirtiendo, están creciendo, se han asociado de la manera en la cual nosotros pretendíamos con una plataforma de una empresa neuquina, ¿no? Y acá, repito, nos están acompañando varias empresas neuquinas que pueden servir de una plataforma de aterrizaje en la provincia para poder brindar mucha más seguridad en el conocimiento de cómo es cada una de las comarcas petroleras que tenemos, fundamentalmente porque sabemos que van a llegar compañías americanas que son la primera vez que salen de los Estados Unidos. Neuquén, la Argentina, se ha transformado en algo confiable y créanme que si todos nos ponemos como verdaderamente nosotros pretendemos, vamos a poder salir adelante. ¿No? Yo aclaro, no soy del mismo partido político que el presidente de la República. El gobernador de Río Negro tampoco es del partido del presidente de la República, pero nadie ha tomado todo esto como un desafío político. Esto para nosotros, para los CEOs de las empresas, para los dueños de las empresas, es un desafío generacional, ¿no? Nosotros con mucho orgullo lo decimos desde la Patagonia Argentina, muchas veces las miradas desde lados lejanos, hasta incluso de nuestra República, desde la capital federal, nos decían ustedes los patagónicos, quédense tranquilos que si a la Argentina le va bien, algo les irá a tocar. Nosotros ahora decimos con mucho orgullo que si a Neuquén y a la Norpatagonia le va bien, seguramente a la Argentina le va a ir bien. Y estamos convencidos que tenemos que lograr entre todos que a la Argentina le vaya bien, ¿no?
Bueno, muchas más gracias, gobernador.
Ahí estamos dejando el código QR para que todos se puedan informar de las 15 áreas que presentamos en licitación para poder adjudicarlas el día 19 de agosto, ¿no? Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, we will continue with the networking event, so we invite all of you to go to the other room and enjoy the time with the rest of the people. Thank you. Bueno, espectacular. ¿Qué decían acá que hacemos un family picture ahora que estamos todos? Bueno, dale. Vamos. Sí, acá, nos quedamos acá, movemos la silla. ¿Por qué no hacemos un family picture todos acá? Porque, sí. Hola. ¿Vamos a hacer foto o no vamos a hacer? Sí, vamos a hacer foto, vení, vamos a sacar todo acá. Vamos a...